we go.
Is it recording?
It is recording.
Okay. All right. So we've been trying to do this podcast for the last 30 days. And we had all these other problems before. We were trying to stream it, and sometimes it just doesn't work. I just can't stream because of something to do with the internet or whatever.
Yeah.
And tried a bunch of different things, and it turned out it was not our fault. It was Comcast's fault, as is everything. I'm pretty sure.
If we got that, if we recorded all that at first, that's exactly what we talked about.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we talked a little bit about it, some stuff or whatever, and I'm going to include that right now. Okay. So that was what we talked about that you missed. What did we talk about? Then we talked about cats, and we talked about...
Yeah, a cat jumped up in my lap. We talked about AT&T is the girlfriend that you need, but Comcast is the one that is mean to you, so you want her more.
Yeah, exactly. Except AT&T kind of did me dirty one time, though.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, like, I had zero credit when I first got AT&T, so they made me pay a $400 deposit.
$400?
$400 deposit to set up service with them. And so I did it, and then when I moved, AT&T didn't cover the area I moved into, so I was able to break clean from the contract, with no issues. And I was asking, when can I get the deposit back? And they were like, "Oh no, that was a non-refundable deposit." And I was like, "But that's the whole point of a deposit."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Sorry, it's non-refundable." You gotta be kidding me.
Did it at least give you better credit?
No.
That's just a total lose-lose.
Yeah, I was like, that's a payment. That's not a deposit.
Yeah, it's just saying, hey, man, you got $400, and you go, yeah. And be like, cool.
Yeah.
Good, give it
exactly.
to me. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's kind of frustrating, but I don't know. AT&T does seem a little better than Comcast, though.
They've gotten better here in Middle Tennessee since Google Fiber said they were coming.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'm sure Google Fiber's somewhere.
Comcast, too. I know Comcast came out with the whole gig speed thing in some areas.
But right now, I think Google Fiber is nothing more than a T-shirt company, I would have to guess, because that's the only thing I've gotten from them was a T-shirt. They gave me a free T-shirt.
Yeah.
I heard something in the news where, the local companies, though, like Comcast and Charter and stuff, were trying to stop Google Fiber from coming, I think.
I believe it, because, Comcast has held that monopoly for a long time. And they work, I think, in conjunction with Time Warner because they're not in the same. They're never in the same place.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. So I could see that they're trying to just squish them out. I remember there was something in the news in Nashville that said they took them to court over the use of telephone poles or something.
Yeah, that's what it was. I think. They were
okay.
They were just it's like anything they could think of. They're like, we want to keep our, what do they call it, an oligopoly or something?
Yeah. What a terrible service.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely have libertarian leanings, and this may anger some of my libertarian friends or whatever.
Uh-oh.
But yeah, but when it comes to things like internet has sort of become, and cell phone service has sort of become like water in a way. You know what I mean? Because it's such a part of our society and our life that it's almost, if you're going to be relevant or have any kind of job, you have to have it basically. So it almost, I could see a government funded project to have cell phone towers and high speed internet run everywhere, and then you let the companies compete over. You still have different service providers, but they're not necessarily like Verizon doesn't get to have the monopoly because they were the first ones to put up the most towers.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? So the government owns the towers, and then the companies compete on price and other features and different things like that.
There should definitely be something to where the government or even one of the providers just go, if you're within so many blocks of a school, you get free internet.
Yeah.
Or just something like that. Or if you're in maybe a lower income housing or something, you should get free internet, or just something like that kind of started out to be just kind of level the playing field.
Yeah.
If you don't have a whole lot of money,
right,
you still need to, maybe get online to find a job, or just, watch World Star Hip Hop for entertainment purposes, whatever.
Yeah.
You can do it and you won't be completely left behind. Yeah.
Right.
I'm with you on this. They should definitely do something.
It's like roads,
Yeah, exactly.
So,
but the way things are moving right now, in the world today, unless it's people trying to shoot each other at a softball game right now, which Oh boy.
That's hard to. That's been such a bizarre thing. 'Cause it's like you're used to politicians coming on TV and talking about an event that happened,
Yeah.
but not an event that they were a part of. It's like they're the victims and the. It's like they're playing both two roles in that situation.
Yeah. I'm so glad. I guess other than the shooter, that nobody died.
Yeah.
So whenever Twitter lit up with all the jokes about baseball games, it'd be like, is this the MLB's attempt to make baseball more exciting and stuff?
Yeah.
I was like, okay. All right.
At least no one died. The one guy I think is in pretty serious shape.
The whip.
Yeah, the whip. Yeah.
Yeah.
The whip that got shot in the hip. Everybody's been saying that.
Yep. It's too good.
It's sad to laugh at, but
in times of tragedy, in my mind, let me say that word one more time. Okay. In times of tragedy.
Strategy.
Yeah.
Strategy.
I had this great strategy. In times like that, you have to laugh.
Yeah.
I mean, that's in my personal opinion, that's the best thing to do. If not, you just get real sad and you stop going outside. And next thing you know, you're like David Berkowitz or something going around saying a dog's telling you to kill people and everything else.
Yeah.
Boy, it's took a dark turn. I'm sorry.
It was interesting to hear, the different perspectives on the situation of the Republicans that were there. It was kind of interesting because it was like a combat situation with people who, I don't think any of them were veterans that I know of. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about that, but I understand most of them have never had combat experience. So it was kind of interesting to hear them tell different stories about what they were thinking, at the time and kind of stuff like that. I heard one story. There was a guy that was hit and he was laying down and there were bullets landing all around him, and it was just having this dilemma. It's like, I feel like if I stay here, I'm going to die, but then also I feel like if I get up, I'm going to die. So it's like, what do I do? And then not knowing, there's some people around a tree, and they were like, we don't know which side of the tree to hide behind because we don't know where the gunfire is coming from. Yeah.
I've had an experience, something not quite that dramatic.
Yeah.
But it's years ago. I was living in Johnson City, Tennessee, and I went downtown. It was a cold night. I don't mean to make this so it was a frigid night. But it was cold outside. I remember that because I was bundled up, and two guys walked out of a bar about, I don't know, maybe 20 yards in front of me.
Yeah.
And they were kind of just mouthing off to each other, which is typical. I've been in the bar business for so long, just to see two guys leave and just say bad stuff to each other. You're just like, okay, have a good night.
Yeah.
And I was walking up the street. I was next to a pillar, and all of a sudden, one of the guys started shooting at the other one.
Oh, man.
And there was at least 4 or 5 rounds, and they started dancing off the pavement in front of me. And you'd be amazed. I didn't know that my body would automatically crouch down and get behind a pillar and then run into the next available. I did it all without thinking. By the time I stopped and thought, I was just like, wow. It rushed back. I was like, there was a woman that came running over, and I borderline ran over her to just run inside. I'm not proud of that part.
Yeah, well,
but I didn't know where those bullets were coming from either.
Yeah.
So that's a very interesting thing. You never know what's in a situation like that. You can go through tons of training, but you never know what you'll actually do whenever you're afraid like that.
It's true, because it's like your body takes over, sort of.
Yeah.
It's weird. I've never been anything like that, but I've been in enough situations, avoiding a car accident or something like that, where it's like it sort of feels like your mind splits into two parts.
Oh, yeah.
Where there's the reactive part, and then there's the part where you're almost just in the passenger seat, just being like, it looks like I'm doing the right thing so far.
It's kind of like a dream in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
Whenever you've always, pretty much, I guess everybody's had the dream where they're watching themselves do something.
Right. Yeah.
And it was kind of like that. Once I stopped and I thought about it, I could see myself run. I could see myself crouch down. All that stuff. It was very weird.
It's like, it looks like he's doing good.
It's like, I think he might make it.
Yeah.
We'll have to hit reset on this one anytime soon.
Yeah, that's crazy. So they were, the rounds were hitting, like you said, the sidewalk?
Yeah, I could see them pop up off the pavement.
Oh,
and it was, for all the big Johnson City fans out there, it was on Main Street. And it was right down in front of a pool hall called, I can't remember if it was Chucky's at the time or Newman's. It's had a couple of different owners.
Okay.
And the bar next to it, I can't remember the name of it, but those guys were coming out of there, and just next thing you know, there was just shots being fired.
Man.
It's one of those weird things that it almost looks cartoonish in my memory now, is seeing the like the bullets fly
Yeah.
up. Like now like I said, this has been years ago.
Right.
So now to me it looks almost like one of the old westerns where it just goes pa-ting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know it wasn't that fun at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine. And it's funny, bullets, they actually sometimes make those sounds.
Yeah.
You know, it's something weird about it's coming in at such speed and changing direction. And all.
Yeah.
I think the sound comes from the way that it's spinning, you know, because it like, you know, as the bullet's coming, you know, as it leaves the gun barrel, it's, you know, spinning very like a nice spiral football.
Yeah.
But then once it hits something, it just starts going
Yeah.
crazy. You know, so that air and everything, it creates like a weird sound. You know, kind of like a kind of.
Yeah, I'm
sound.
amazed nobody was hurt from that either.
That's
it was also
crazy.
one of those things that was just like an afterthought. Like I run
Yeah.
inside, I'm like sweating instantly, like because I was like my life was just threatened.
Yeah.
And everybody at the upstairs bar of that pool hall was just kind of like, "What's the matter?" And I'm like, "Shots fired!" Blah, 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 blah. And they're like, "Okay." Nobody cared. I was like, "Oh." I was like,
Man.
"They're like, you want anything to drink?" And I was like, "Yeah, I really do now. I
Yeah.
need it." I was like, "I need something to slow me down before my heart bursts."
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet. That's
Well,
crazy.
fun, good old Johnson City, man.
Yeah. I've been there a couple times. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can imagine it.
It's different now. It's weird. It's weird to see someplace change that drastically.
Yeah. I was there in like between like 07 and 09.
Yeah, this was right around the time I was getting shot at.
Okay. That's interesting.
It's
Because I was living in Jefferson City
okay. Yeah.
around that time.
What were you doing in Johnson City?
I just went out there.
Just went out there?
The girl I
Yeah.
was dating at the time she went to a college that was like closer up that way, Greenville, Tennessee.
Yeah, yeah,
And we went up there a couple of times. you know.
yeah. Because there's a lot of bars.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bars, and for that matter, fun stuff to do.
Yeah.
There's breweries and stuff now. At the time, it was a little bit more, and it wasn't like South Chicago rough by any
Right, yeah.
means, but there was a lot more fights, and
Yeah.
just that's the only time I remember somebody got mad enough at another dude to shoot at him.
Yeah.
that I recall.
Yeah. Because from what I understand, it's like Knoxville, that's like, okay, that you're in East Tennessee.
Yeah.
And then Johnson City is like, you're in East Tennessee.
Yeah, you're
kinda.
in Far East Tennessee.
Yeah, different
Yes.
ball game a little bit.
A little bit different, more redneck,
Yeah, yeah,
less good football
yeah,
in my mind.
yeah. That makes
I'm
sense.
sure there's going to be a lot of people comment on that.
Yeah, just made everyone angry.
Yeah, I made a couple of UT fans pretty happy, and
Yeah.
everybody else just like loaded them up to talk smack.
Yeah, you'll never make my audience as angry as Brad Edwards, though.
So I heard.
Which I'm actually, I guess I could announce this. I don't know. I think I guess we're gonna do it. So he came to me a few months ago, and then mentioned how he wanted to buy a gun, and it'd be like a cool video to do. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. You know.
The guy that made everybody mad.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
going to get a gun.
Yeah, the guy that he said, what did he say in that podcast? He said if he could flip a switch and make every gun disappear, he would.
Oh wow.
And that, yeah, that set everyone off.
Yeah, I could see
I mean,
that.
the point that he was trying to make a point though.
Yeah.
Like he was actually trying to meet me in the middle by saying like, you know, I hate guns, but I also understand that you can't just make them all disappear. They
Yeah.
exist, you know, kind of thing. But anyways, that was one of the things that set people off, understandably. But so he came to me a while back and said he wanted to buy a gun, and we're going to do a video and whatever. We'd never like planned out when we were going to do it. But I had this idea. I was like, all right, you got to come on my podcast again, and we're going to announce. Well, I guess I'm announcing it now. We're going to announce that we're going to do it. We're going to make a video of you buying a gun, but we're going to set up a GoFundMe account, which doesn't exist yet. So if you're listening, or maybe it does. Wait.
This is the future
Yeah,
right now.
I forgot. This is the future. It depends on when you're listening to this. Let me think. Where am I going to put the GoFundMe link? It's going to be, I'll put a link in the description of this video if it exists yet. So
We just got weird sci-fi.
it did. So if you're not sure, if you're listening to this podcast like a few days after or a while after it was aired, go look in the description for the GoFundMe. But we're going to make a GoFundMe for his gun. And I'm not sure if that's legal, so we're going to make a GoFundMe just for Brad Edwards in general.
Yeah.
And he may or may not use that money to buy a gun.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's merely a suggestion.
right, it's a suggestion. But we're going to buy a gun.
But we're probably going to take that money back up.
Yeah. And I thought it would be kind of interesting to see if like how supportive people are of, him buying a gun.
Yeah.
You know, they did not like him very much on the podcast.
Maybe that could turn the tide, so to speak,
Yeah.
with him, you know?
Yeah.
What kind of gun would you get for a Brad Edwards type guy that,
Well-
that is kind of against guns,
Yeah.
but now for some odd reason wants one?
Well, this is what I talked to him about, and this is what I always tell people that it's like, I want to buy like the first gun just for home defense.
Sure.
I think the standard is a single barrel, either 12 or 20 gauge shotgun, because it's so simple. It's basically you've got a hammer and something to break it open. So it's basically like you open the thing. It's like a double barrel shotgun. It's a one barrel. Open it, put the shell in, close it, cock the hammer, ready to shoot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very safe because you know it's only got one chamber. You know, I mean, there's no magazines or anything. It's just very safe and simple. And you can put a what's called a butt cuff on the back on the stock, so you can have like 5 extra shells there.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those, yeah.
Yeah, so you could you wouldn't even have to have it loaded if it made you uncomfortable. You could snatch it up at night, break it up real quick, pop a shell in there, ready to go.
And it's intimidating.
Yeah, it's a shotgun.
Yeah,
even though you got one shot, it's still a
Yeah,
shotgun.
you're breaking into a house, the spray is going to hit you in some way, shape, or form,
yeah.
and that's not going to feel good.
Oh yeah, and even if there's like 2 guys that break in on you or something, I mean, you get in, get a shot, and then kind of get out and reload that thing. I mean, it would work for
Or if
sure.
they're standing next to each other, now I'm talking crazy. They're standing next to each other.
Yeah.
You could just aim in the middle. This is what I do in video games. I aim in the middle and I kind of hit both.
It would work.
Yeah, it works pretty good.
Yeah, there's actually a thing they train police to do, and if you only have a shotgun in a hostage situation, it's actually how the cop killed the guy that killed Dimebag Darrell. Is what you do because you got a spread on a shotgun, and if you're trying to shoot someone in the head that has a hostage or whatever, obviously you don't shoot square because some of the part of the spread might hit the hostage or someone you want to hit. So what you do is if the hostage is like to the right, as I'm looking at it to the right, then you would aim to the left of the target so that you're just clipping the bad guy with the rightmost part of the spread. Basically, is how that works.
Big up on for that cop to even think about that in that situation, because that was a crazy thing, man. I remember the day that happened.
Yeah.
It just didn't even make sense.
And I was like just getting into that kind of music, when that happened and everything. So it was like, yeah, it's crazy. And it's like every time I get back into Pantera, it's funny. I've always liked Pantera. I've mostly been a Metallica guy and Megadeth, but I've always liked Pantera. Listen to them occasionally, but like here recently, it was like I just got back into them. I was like, getting back into heavy metal again. I went on a big classic rock binge, which I still absolutely love and listen to a lot. But I was just like, I just needed heavy metal in my life again, And then, I was like, I'm gonna check out Pantera again. I started listening to some Pantera. Started watching the videos online, and it's just like there was a point where I realized, like, I think I'm now a serious Pantera fan.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It just happened.
What got me back into Pantera is I got a gym membership. I got a gym membership.
That makes sense.
And I just went, what can I listen to? And I was trying to listen to podcasts while I worked out, and it never really, and it was fun, but it never really pumped me up. There's only so much, just 2 guys talking monotone to each other before, and I'm over there trying to run and lift weights and stuff.
Yeah.
And I found a list on Spotify that just said 90s metal. And I went, okay, I'll give that. And I'm not a big fan of Rammstein, or Steen, or however you say it. And I kind of skipped through that. And I think I was talking to you about it at an open mic where I just said I listened to a song off, I think it's The Great Southern Trendkill by Pantera.
Mm-hmm.
And it was, I think, Drag the Waters.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And I remember I was over there on like an elliptical machine, which makes you look so lame anyway. I just look so lame over there.
Like a gazelle.
Exactly. And that came on, and I think I listened to it 3 times that day.
Yeah.
I just kept listening to it. I was like lifting something. I was like, yeah, I get this.
Yeah. It's great for that. I mean, I listen to it when I'm working out a lot of times.
Yeah.
Like Primal Concrete Sledge is a good one. It's kind of short, but that's a good one. It's got like that middle part where it goes into that kind of like riff or whatever.
I don't remember that as much. I do know that probably my favorite album by them, at least the workout, actually just in general, is not Vulgar Display, the one that came out right after that. Far Beyond Driven.
Yeah.
That one.
That song Becoming.
No, that's great.
That one. It's got that weird little like squeak thing, that riff, like that whole like the groove metal aspect that they had, where it was just like I'm really starting to appreciate that. It had such a groove to it.
Yeah.
You know, and then Dimebag's brother was such a good drummer, and they were just like musically, they were very tight and just.
Vinnie Paul did for that band and just for metal in general. He showed that you don't have to show off on the drums at all. But there was just never like a fallout moment with those guys. Even if like Dimebag went into a crazy minute and a half solo, the groove just stayed there, and Vinnie Paul just filled it so well, man.
Yeah.
It was amazing how well they came together. And I guess it's because they were a band. I watched the behind the music.
Okay.
It's still on. I think it's still on YouTube. You can still find it. The VH1. I almost said VHS. But it's really, really good. To see them back in the day. They were a Van Halen cover band.
Yeah.
And they looked
Pretty
very
funny, especially Dimebag.
Oh yeah, he was Diamond Daryl.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was even Diamond Daryl even up until like Cowboys from Hell, I think, for a little bit.
Oh, he was on that, and even the cover of that looks so cheesy.
Yeah, it does.
And that's
there's some great stuff on that album.
Oh yeah, Cemetery Gates is really good on that.
Yeah.
There's another one.
Primal Concrete Sledge is on there.
Okay, yeah.
Let's see, Domination is a great song.
I can't remember it as much.
It's got one of those like there's a few of their songs that have these moments in them where it's just like this slow, like heavy melodic, almost just ultra chunky, like metal riff where it's just like you just want to like eat the music. It's so chunky, you know. You just want to take a bite out of it somehow, you know.
Or it's going to punch you in the face.
Yeah, exactly.
I dated a girl in high school that was really big into Pantera, and then one day she just stopped wearing shirts and everything. And I just asked her, she's like, I'm kind of over Pantera. And I was like, why? It used to be your favorite band. She goes, I'm just tired of being screamed at. I get that.
That's funny.
I think that's the reason why I have to go in and out of metal sometimes.
Yeah, that's how I'm with. Yep.
Yeah, because I can't relax. I can't drive down the road on a sunny day with the windows rolled down and just have like a double bass hitting me in the head and just be like, man, I really appreciate nature and what the world has out here at the store for me.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah. It's like metal for me is one of those things I use it as a tool in like certain points in my life, you know, where I'm really trying to like energize myself and get things going, you know. And it's like I sort of like hit that point again in my life. Like there was when I really got super heavy into metal, it was almost for like a darker reason, because I was kind of like, it was like that, you know, like 20 years old, like, oh, what am I going to do with my life kind of thing, you know?
You're angry for no reason, which makes you even more angry.
Yeah, exactly. And then now it's like I'm to this point where it's like I'm past like any of the youth that I had, and it's like it's time for me to do what I'm here to do, kind of thing. And it's like I've hit this point where I'm hoping that I'm going to hit a plateau. And it's like I need something extra to help me get over it, you know, sort of how I feel now.
Do you feel, as far as metal goes, I kind of go back and forth with this a lot, that metal is kind of a young man's game? That it sometimes, okay, so I listen to James Hetfield on Mark Maron's podcast.
Yeah, I listen to that whole thing too.
And I have much respect and love for both of those guys, but that was one of the boringest things I think I've listened to, because it was James Hetfield, and I know he did some crazy stuff back in the day and traveling with Metallica, and he mostly just talked about his kids, which is fine. That's where he's at in his life. But it almost made me not want to listen to that new Metallica album because I was like, that's not very metal. Yeah. You know? And I just wonder, do you think that there's like a shelf life? Like you get all your anger out? Like you were just saying right there, I listened to it for like an angry reason or a dark reason at first. Yeah. Now I just listen to it for like a motivational reason. Yeah. You know?
Yeah, I think so. I think that is kind of the duality of metal. It's like there's angry. I'm angry about things. Things are wrong, and then there's like the power side of it. You know what I mean? Where it's just like you feel like it puts gas behind you to do what you want to do. Like you said, working out and stuff like that. You know, but you're right. Like Metallica off the stage is not so metal anymore. But you know, I mean, I can't blame them. I mean, come on. I mean, James, like, why should they not? You know, they have made all this money. James Hetfield, I heard him on the Joe Rogan podcast. He's got 3 houses. He's got one in Hawaii, he's got one in Colorado, and he's got one in San Francisco. You know, I'm sure they're nice.
Yeah. We just found out they were just very moderate, small homes. Yeah. He's like, that's how I afford 3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
He's just got a grass hut out there in Hawaii. Just like, that's all I need out here, man. Yeah. But something tells me they're like 15-story homes.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I don't know. It's one of those weird things. It makes me not want to listen to any more interviews with some of the guys that I think are like hardcore.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't want everybody to be like insane.
Right.
I don't want like be like a guy like in his 50s go.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I have to bite the head off this chicken, or else
Yeah.
Josh Lewis won't buy my album.
Yeah.
I don't want anything like that. But like Lemmy, for instance,
He never stopped being metal.
he never stopped
Yeah.
being metal, and there's a respect for that too. And also something inside me it just wants to go. Just stop, dude.
Yeah.
You're doing this is bad. You don't have to impress me anymore.
But the thing is though, like guys like that, it's not about impressing anybody. That
Yeah, I
literally,
guess so,
legitimately is who they are. You know?
Exactly.
Like I think that was the thing with Dimebag Darrell too.
Yeah.
One thing that made him special is like he was that guy. It wasn't an act.
Yeah.
He lived it and breathed it. He was that guy.
Yeah,
until died.
he really liked being rock and roll all the time.
He was drunk constantly.
Yeah.
Like, there's this interview with Phil Anselmo that, like, he has a history now because you've heard about the white power thing he did.
Oh boy, that's another
it's
reason
very
why I'm
frustrating.
afraid to like crank up the Pantera so
Yeah,
much in my gym. I was like, somebody's gonna be like, "Well, there's a white nationalist."
It's very, I know, it's so frustrating. And there's like in the song "A New Level," which is an amazing song.
Mm-hmm.
There's a point where he talks about there's this part where he's like such power or whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and there's a little part in the back of my mind that makes me think of that, and I'm just like, I know that's not what he's talking about, but it's just
Yep.
so it's sort of like pretend like I'm not going to defend it. I'm not going to pretend to understand it. It's just a thing that he did. He doesn't seem like a racist, so I hope that.
Perfect.
Just headbutted that microphone right in my face. So I'm just kind of like, whatever. I like the guy for his music and stuff, but
Yeah, there's it's another one of those things where I'm glad that I listened to that Hetfield interview to be like, okay, I don't need to know anything about Hetfield
Yeah.
to just like Metallica.
yeah.
I don't have to dig in because it's basically him just taking his like daughter to like
Right.
soccer practice.
Yeah, exactly.
And that makes me just go every time I listen to them like, "Whoa,"
Yeah.
like play something heavy.
Right.
I'm just kind of like I just see him in a van
And Hetfield
just driving around, and then
Yeah.
now whenever I listen to Phil
Right.
Anselmo's like sing, I'm like, oh man, I just see him like painting on the mustache,
Yeah, I
painting
know.
on the Hitler mustache. I'm like, come on, dude.
Surely he's not racist though. I feel like you.
Hope not.
Yeah, it's bad when you watch that. If you watch that video, it just looks really bad.
It's the one where he's telling kids.
So this is his story.
Okay,
His
yeah.
story is, so he was doing. Of course, it was a dime bag. It's called Dime Bash, and it was a dime bag, like benefit thing.
Yeah.
And Chris, what's his name? Chris something, the bass player. From
Yeah, the bass
Pantera.
player, the one that kept on like, the one that got the boil or whatever lanced on his butt cheek with the vulgar videos.
Did
Was
you?
that
I haven't
it?
seen that one.
I can't remember if it's a roadie or him because they both
Okay.
look kind of skanky.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he looked like the one that should be on heroin.
Absolutely, he did.
Yeah.
He looked like he was born with heroin in him,
Yeah, he does.
which made him so much more Pantera in my
That's
mind.
true. Yeah. But he was there, and some other guys like I think even the guy from Anthrax was there, who is Jewish. The front man and some Slayer people were there. They were doing some Pantera songs and stuff. So, anyways, there was these people in the front row that were apparently heckling him through a lot of the show, which is that seems like a weird place to heckle.
That's real.
It really does. But he said that like everyone was drinking white wine or something, and that was what the white power thing was about. But if you see the video, like I'm not even gonna make the hand motion,
Yeah.
because I tend to like this is what he did. If I'm not gonna do it,
So somebody else screen captured that real quick.
Exactly. But he in the video, basically, you see him like he's like kind of leaning in at those people, and he just like does the the Hitler salute, and he says "white power" in a very, very convincing way, like one of the most convincing white powers I've ever heard anyone say.
Yeah.
And he claimed it was an inside joke that had something to do with that or whatever. That has to be BS. I'm hoping that all it was that these people that like he probably saw them as like some like super progressive liberal or whatever, and they were just irritating him to the point where he's like, I'm gonna do the most offensive thing I can possibly do to these people, because they are making me so angry, and I'm Phil Anselmo and I don't care about anything.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping it was, because that's the only one thing that makes sense. you know.
Yeah, but still, yeah,
it's still bad either way.
It's still not something you should do.
Yeah.
No matter if you're like worried about guys drinking white wine.
Yeah.
And
there's no context where you should ever do that unless you're like literally playing a character in a movie or something.
Exactly. That's right up there with some Kramer stuff. You can't come back on it and just go, listen, this was all in context of art.
Right.
You know, or something like that. Yeah, you just have to say I'm sorry and hopefully not be a douche.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, he like, if you see him in interviews and stuff, he seems like, you know, he's an interesting person, you know, some of the stuff he says. And like, the way I got on that tirade, I was going to say, I saw an interview with him where he's talking about Dimebag, and it was really inspiring. It's on Loudwire.
Okay.
And he's just talking about, you know, how Dimebag had so much soul and all this kind of stuff. And it's really inspiring the way he like talks about it. But he was telling the story back to Dimebag being a real rock star. He was telling the story about how apparently Dimebag Darrell, what he would do, and I'm guessing this was kind of, I don't know if he didn't specify when he did this, but I'm guessing it was, you know, I can't imagine him doing this like for 15 years straight. But he said that what he would do is he would, after the show, he would be drinking all night. They'd hang out with the fans, do crazy stuff, whatever, and just get super drunk. He wouldn't stop drinking until about noon the next day. He'd go to sleep, wake up around 6, get about 6 hours sleep, wake up about 6, and he'd get up, he'd stumble in, eat a piece of bread, do some push-ups to kind of get stretched out, you know, sometimes a little soup, start drinking whiskey again and go on stage.
That's just... He looked good. He didn't look like he was dying, because to me that would be dying.
Yeah. You know, you look at like in the last few years of his life, he sort of gained some weight, you know.
Yeah.
My gut theory is that like that's when he stopped doing that. He started eating food again.
Well, what was the name of the band that he last played with? Was it Damage Plan?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't remember if it was Damage Plan or Hell Yeah.
Hell Yeah is his brother's
Vinnie Paul after that.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was either one of those, but it's like, hey, we got to get ready for, you know, our weekend of shows or whatever, wherever, and they're just going through a liquor store with a buggy, just filling it up.
Yeah.
And whether that's all true or not, I mean, they at least put on the persona that they were doing that. I've seen them at a live show where they just took like half cups of beer, draft beer, and just like swing them around. And I guess it's centrifugal force that throws them out so people would catch them.
Oh, man.
But of course, it would just throw beer all over you, like Stone Cold Steve Austin or something. You'd catch it and just throw it in their face. But it would still be
awesome.
Super cool to have, like, Dimebag just throw you a beer, and you're like, yeah.
Yeah, it would.
And I think it's what they do right in the middle of a show, just to be like, all right, we're going to have an intermission, and just throw beer all over the crowd. Which, I mean.
I saw one where they were in a hotel, and I guess it was like a bunch of people were like walking down the street going like to the show, I guess, and they were still in the room. It was like up a few stories, and they were like pouring beer out the window, and fans were like coming and like open their mouths and stuff.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it is.
Man, there just isn't. I mean, are there rock stars anymore?
I don't know. You know,
or at least rock stars of that insanity.
Yeah, see, like that guy that we both know that hangs around open mics, that he's a roadie or whatever he does. Yeah. He was telling me something about that, like it's the country stars are kind of like that now.
Okay.
And it's weird because they have this real, you know, kind of family friendly kind of image, but they're the ones out there just doing all kinds of coke and getting wasted and you know, and stuff.
It makes me want to like country music a little bit more. I don't know what it is. I don't want to be a rock star in that regard, but whenever I see somebody else do it, I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So that guy's going to destroy himself for me.
Yeah. Like, I'm super happy with how my life has gone, but if someone was like, you know, everything in this one goes great, and someone was like, okay, now you've got another one, what are you going to do this time? Probably gonna play guitar 10 hours a day.
Yep.
From 8 years old until I can be in a successful band.
I think about that every time I bomb on stage. It was like, remember whenever you were 16 and you were practicing 3 hours a day and you progressively got better, and then one day you just went, eh.
Yeah.
Now you're up here going, hey, it took me 5 minutes to write this joke, and everybody's just gleaming at you.
Yeah.
The sweat starts. You're like, oh, I should have played my guitar more.
Yeah.
Because even whenever you do a bad job sometime as a band, you can just be in like a cover band.
Yeah, that's true.
And get paid pretty decent. Girls still like you. Get you know, drinks on the house.
Yeah.
You can at least lie to people afterwards and go, yeah, I'm in a band.
Yeah.
And everybody digs it.
It's a lot less obvious if you're bad or not, too.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, with comedy, it's like, I mean, what other? Well, I guess there's others. I was gonna say, what other entertainment thing is there where it's just like there's such a clear, concise gauge of like how, not necessarily how good you are, I guess in general, but like at least how well you're doing then. You know.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to talk like I know comedy because I haven't been doing it long enough to be like, hey, listen up, everybody. Hey, kids. But it is. Have you done the thing yet where you've invited people out to a show, and then they get there, and then you just eat it right there on stage?
Oh yeah.
Yep, that's one of my funnest ones. That's. Yeah, I've done that. They filmed it. Oh, it was so bad. There's nothing like just seeing a guy that you respect with his arms just crossed.
Yeah.
Just like not shaking his head no or anything, just being like, this is what you've been doing for like the past year and a half.
Yeah.
And this is what you dragged me out to on a Wednesday night, my only day off from work. Oh, it's so bad. Yeah. But if I had a guitar up there,
that's right.
I have a feeling I could GDC right through that thing, and they would be like, well, that's at least a song.
Yeah. Sounds fine.
Yeah. Because you can't always say some of the stuff that you do is a joke.
Yeah. That's true. Lately, I've been like, I feel like my own worst enemy on stage, where I'll like judge myself before I even give the audience a chance to.
Oh yeah.
I'll start telling a joke, and I get like maybe halfway through the premise, and I already hate it.
Yep.
You know, and it's like I don't even want to finish this.
Yeah, it's stuff, especially at the beginning, because that's where we're at.
Yeah.
It's just so much ebb and flow. It just goes up and down so quickly. Yeah. To where you'll go through. I know I've went through like 2 or 3 months where 2 and 3 times a week I think it's something good, and then I kind of put it together. And sometimes it doesn't always pan out, but it always feels good. It feels right. Yeah. While you're doing it. And then you'll go through about 3 months to where everything you say on stage, you're just like, oh, this isn't good. Yeah. Why should I even think these people should like this? I don't like it. I can't even sell this. Yeah. Yeah.
I know. I hate that feeling like because you think that you're making an improvement. You know, you'll have like a week or so, like you're saying, where you're writing good stuff, and then it's like, yeah, okay, I think I'm sort of getting this. Yeah. Man, if I could do this every week, I mean, I'll have some solid material, here pretty soon. And then it's like, all right, what happened to that? Where'd that go?
Yeah. One of the weirdest things I've ever had is that I'll do like a bit for a little while that always works. Mm-hmm. And then one day it stops working and never works again.
Yeah, that's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, and in front of different crowds. So it's not just the same people just getting beat to death by it. And it just always works. And then one day, just boom. It's just like the bottom fell out of it. Maybe I stopped believing in it.
I think, that's probably at least half of it, at least. That's kind of my theory, I think. Because it's like, it doesn't make sense how it could be anything else. I mean, because I know I get really burnt out on jokes, even if they're like a joke that usually does well for me. I just get tired of telling it. So there's no way I have the same enthusiasm.
Yeah. What really helps me with that is booking shows out of town, even if it's just one of those crummy open mics that they make you get online and say, hey, I'm going to be here to go over premises also. But just being in front of different people and saying that same thing helps tons. Or it just lets you know it sucks. You need to stop doing it.
I've got some jokes that literally died and are still in the Atlanta comedy scene. As we speak, they're still there. They died.
R.I.P.
There's like a chalk outline on the street. I need to do that more. I wish there was more. I guess like Knoxville has some open mics and stuff.
Knoxville does. Check out Huntsville. It's a little bit closer. I did one in Louisville. It was another one of those weird ones where they call it an open mic, but everybody has to get pre-booked, and then you get there and it's kind of feels like a show. Yeah, but it's like a show for amateurs, basically. This cat loves to ram his head into the microphone.
He does.
This is his thing.
Yeah.
This is perfect.
He's like, now stare at my butt.
He's like, yep. But
look, he's like going under the stand.
Yeah, he's going to enjoy it. He's the true star of this.
Yeah, he is.
And sometimes also I've known like that one I did in Louisville, and it just felt more like it's going to be impossible for people not to watch. No matter, I can just start talking about like, and this is how you fix poverty. Right now, everybody's like, look at that cat. But it's, what was I saying?
You're fixing
Louisville's
poverty.
pretty nice.
Yeah.
Louisville's got a nice little scene up there.
Yeah.
That's another place to check out. Yeah, and
It's a Laughing Derby, right?
Laughing Derby.
Okay,
But
now-
you have to sign up online.
See, I tried that and never heard anything back.
Yeah, it's weird. I tried 3 or 4 times before they got back to me.
Okay, so I just need to
Yeah.
keep trying. And
Yeah.
there was a thing on there where they asked for like TV credits, and I was just like, "Come on, nobody has TV credits. It's going to the open
That's
mic.
going to
It's like
book
this.
an open mic
or at least a
online.
TV credit that matters, you know."
Yeah, exactly. It was, all that's silly because the majority of it is basically you walking up and just writing something down on a sheet.
Yeah.
And them just kind of break. Because, I mean, what are you going to show them via video that goes, wait a minute,
Yeah.
you're not ready for open mics.
Yeah.
You're
exactly.
ready for stardom.
Yeah,
You know?
really.
We need to pass you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
That's crazy.
makes no sense.
No, not at all. Speaking of that, I had this. I guess I'll announce this too. Sometimes I announce things that way. I feel like pressured to actually do it. You know.
Yeah.
But no, I'm gonna do this. So I've been doing these. I've been sort of trying out like a new style of YouTube videos. They're kind of like like vlogs where they kind of like that what's the guy, Casey Neistat guy. You know that guy.
Mhm.
Okay, well there's a few like famous vloggers on YouTube where basically what they do is they just like film their life, or they film something that they're doing or whatever. A lot of them are, to me, kind of like cringy. I hate to use that word.
Here, I'll say it. Lame.
Yeah, lame. Because it's very like, they're very like too upbeat and too excited and like.
Is it the one where they edit it to where, like, they'll just say like a big word or something like really nice? God, that's a terrible description. We need some editing on that.
Yeah, we do.
Good God. Where just somebody will be like, listen, we're having something really, and then it'll like cut like the camera a little bit. Fun today.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Okay.
And really like clickbait titles, like a title will be something like, "I can't believe this happened to me."
Yeah,
Stuff like
exactly.
that. So I recently was, because I fucking, now I gotta cut that out. What? I almost said it again because I said it.
Okay, I wrote the time down.
Wrote time down. All right, thanks. So anyways, so because I'm kind of like a student of YouTube, because it's how I've spent most of my adult life, I like to notice all the different trends of what people are doing. If I don't like it, I'm interested in it. What are they? Why is this popular? Kind of thing. And I've sort of done that with that. And there is an aspect of it that I think is actually really cool. I just don't like how it's executed by a lot of people.
Yeah.
So I thought, like, maybe I'll try my hand at something like that, but kind of do it in my own way. Because there's one guy, it's Casey Neistat. I don't know how, I'm probably butchering his last name. He has one of the most successful ones, not the most, but one of them. And while I don't always love how he does it either, one thing he at least does that makes it a little less like, hey, look at me, I'm so special, is that it has like a purpose, because he I don't know, he owns some tech company or something. He's always traveling, doing crazy stuff. So his life is already interesting. He doesn't have to like try to make it seem interesting.
Yeah.
And he just kind of takes you along and shows you some of the stuff that he's doing. And he does it pretty well.
Yeah.
So I thought of doing some stuff like that with some of the things I'm doing, and just kind of showcasing them in a very like fly on the wall kind of like perspective. So anyways, I said all that to say that I'm gonna do I'm doing mine very targeted, like a specific thing. I'm gonna do like an open mic version and I plan to do it this upcoming week is the plan, is where I'm gonna have I'm gonna start I'm gonna at the open mics probably do some old material, but I'm gonna try to write a bunch of new jokes, and I'm gonna try to like film myself writing the jokes, and I'm gonna show them on camera the jokes that I'm writing. And like why I think it's funny, or like completely like Sausage Factory show how it's that being made, like something you would never do necessarily, and show like why I think it's funny, where the idea came from, all that kind of stuff, and then just kind of like I'll figure out some way to edit together where it's not too boring. And then before I do the first open mic, I'll be like, all right, here's all the jokes I have for this week to try out at the open mics, and then I'll kind of rank and be like, I think this one is probably the best one that I have. This one I'm not sure about. Like what I would do in my head, but actually show like the camera. And then I'm going to take the camera and film my sets. And then I feel like people might find it kind of interesting to like, to guess. They'll be like, oh, he thinks that one's good, but that one's bad.
Yeah.
And then they'll get to see like, hey, if it did well, and they get to see how like, the perspective I don't think most people ever get to see unless they actually do comedy, of that concept of like coming up with jokes and then seeing which ones work and which ones don't, but they already know the joke beforehand. So it's like they're seeing it kind of from my eyes, sort of.
I'm definitely going to keep up with you doing this because I want to see how many people that comment. Now they may not comment this because I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
I like comedians that are more natural at just come up with stuff while they're up there or something like that. Not this manufactured stuff, or I'm not a joke teller. I don't like joke tellers and all that stuff. I just want to see how many people do that because
a lot, probably.
I've heard so many people say that.
Yeah.
I heard so many people say they don't like doing that, and then I've seen people at these open mics just get up there and go, I don't really write jokes, and it just makes me want to just throw a beer bottle at them.
Yeah,
and be like,
really.
well, don't waste our time.
Yeah, really.
Try a little bit.
Yeah, even these like so-called like kind of improv comics, they have stuff pre-prepared too.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
I've done at the Broken Record Comedy Show in 12:30 in the afternoon till 2:30 in the afternoon. I did 2 hours worth of crowd work.
Wow.
And that's all I did. And I still had, there was still always something in the back of my mind if, hey, what do you do for a living? And they say, I don't know, bus driver. There's always something that pops up that you've thought of before that you're like, oh, so it means you don't like kids or something, just something dumb and cheesy like that. Obviously, it was great 2 hours worth of crowd work. You could tell from what I just did. It was really rousing hours.
Podcast crowd work.
Oh, just podcast crowd work. Hey, are you guys listening?
Yeah. You know what I think about listeners, right?
You guys seem like listeners. But yeah, you always have something a little pre-planned.
Yeah.
I think that's some of the best stuff. Like Dave Attell does really well at that.
Yeah.
Big J Okerson's basically has a show. Not basically has a show. He does have a show on CISO where that's all crowd work.
Right.
And he brings on different people and they just do crowd work the entire time. It's super fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no such thing as total improv.
No, not at all.
Or else they wouldn't teach classes of it.
Right.
And
I think a lot of the people that say stuff like that, their favorite comedians, they probably just think they just
they just make
come
stuff
up with it on the fly or whatever. Like they're just a funny person. You just get them on a stage, man. They're just so funny all the time, Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's always fun. I got a friend named Bill. Man, he makes me laugh so hard. I've been trying to put a microphone in his hand.
Yeah.
It's like there might be a reason why he doesn't want to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you got to try real hard at it.
Yeah, you really do. I think that's one of the things too. Doing that little series, I'm going to do occasionally. I'm going to do it all the time. Because I burn all my jokes.
Exactly. You won't be able to do anything in public.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just do it periodically.
Yeah.
But I feel like it'll make me write harder. Like if I do it this week, which that's the plan, I'm going to do it very soon. If I don't do it this week, it'll try to be like the next week. But I feel like, okay, these people are going to see these jokes and they're going to judge me for them before I even get a chance to tell them. So like I'm going to really try to make them good, the best I can. But it might be a week where I just don't think of good stuff, though. So.
Yeah, I've been going through several of those weeks.
I have too.
But also that could be something to show somebody who wants to get into comedy that you don't always do well.
Yeah.
If you really like it, you just have to kind of ride it out.
Yeah.
And hopefully something good will come from it, or you'll go through several months before you're just like, you know what I like to do? Not being embarrassed on a stage.
Yeah. I get bad about being overconfident in my ability to come up with stuff on stage. And I'll come up with like one like funny thing on stage on the fly. And then I'll just tell myself like, oh, I'm good at that now.
Yeah. Off the cuff now from here on out.
And then I'll come to the like open mics the next week and I'll like have all these premises like, oh, I'll figure it out. Yeah. Just, this is a good start. This will get me started and I'll make something of it. Almost never happens,
For people that don't know how an open mic works, you just go there, you sign up, and then you get to talk through a microphone for 45 minutes about whatever you want to.
Yeah, literally.
Which, it could be real bad sometimes.
Yeah.
So the times that I try to do that, where I just go, I'll figure it out as I get along. I'll sign up towards the end. So if you ever see me purposely sign up towards the end, just leave the room because it's going to be a lot of. Is that funny?
Jim Bob was talking about air conditioners.
Man, you want to meet my friend Jim Bob. He's real funny.
Yeah.
He's great.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You gotta write stuff down. It's hard sometimes to make yourself do it.
Yeah. It's the hardest. It is the hardest thing. A fellow comedian, Dusty Slay, He told me once, he goes, if I ever need to get my housework done, if I ever need to like clean the house, I just sit down to write comedy, and I just get up and just start, well, I better wash these dishes now.
Yeah.
You know, you want,
true,
yeah, as soon as your mind, you'll think of a million things that you could be doing. I don't know why it's like that. I don't know why you can like something so much, and for some odd reason at the same time, it's a bit of a task.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it really is. It's not like you hear people that love playing a certain instrument, a guitar or something. They're just like, oh, I just love it. I can't get enough of it. With comedy, it's like I don't think anybody likes writing jokes.
Nobody. Well, that's the reason why we do it.
Yeah,
I think that's the reason why the majority of us do it, is because we're not good at just sitting down.
Yeah.
And diddling on a, clarinet for 3 hours.
Right.
It's something to be like, you just go to a coffee shop that day and see something where you go, and then you take that and you go, well, if I say this through a microphone, maybe people will find it funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very spot on. But then there's guys like Hedgeberg. That's the only thing he did was write. Just constantly write.
Yeah, that's crazy. I've tried that so many times. I tried to have self-discipline. Okay, I'm going to sit down. I got this notepad. I'm going to write down jokes. And it just, I found basically the only way that I can write jokes reliably is if I force myself to just, try to make things funny.
Yeah.
At my wife's expense.
Yes. But in his defense, bless his heart, he all the time will be like, "Is this funny?" And I'll be like, "No." And then inevitably he'll try it anyway, and it'll be hilarious. And the stuff I like is never good. So apparently I just have a bad.
That's good reverse
bad
psychology,
comedy
though.
review.
Yeah. Well, it's one thing that I will say is nice is like she is sort of like my comedy punching bag. Because I have zero shame about anything that I say to her.
Yeah.
Not not being rude to her, but you know what I mean? Like as far as a joke.
And another thing.
I couldn't believe the way.
Yeah.
I told him I always know when he's gonna try a joke out on me because he always goes, "So." Like anytime he's like, "So," like I'm like,
but
actually,
I don't actually like try out jokes on you that often. Usually I just say stuff as I think of it when we're talking.
He gets a very clever look on his face. He like when I hear
That's
"so"
true.
and I see that like I'm a very smart guy look on his face, I'm like, oh man.
Yeah.
I found that sometimes just talking to people, I'll come up with bits. And I know not everybody works that way because, I've got several comedian friends that'll just cower away from most conversations. And then they'll get on stage and talk about something similar that everybody was talking around them about. And I'm like, oh, that's how you're doing it.
Yeah. I have this weird thing where, like, with other comedians, if I'm having a conversation, it's almost like anything that comes up in that conversation, I sort of, like, rule it out as like, okay, it's, like, off limits for me as a joke. I sort of do that. Because I feel bad. I don't, like, one thing, I don't want someone to think that I was, like, running a joke on them without telling them.
Yeah.
And I don't want like, I'm always afraid like maybe it was like their idea kind of, or whatever. And I don't like, maybe they wanted to write something about it, so I'm always very like, if I have a conversation with someone about something, unless it was very much like I'm telling someone a story about something that happened to me.
Yeah.
I decided to later do a bit about it. I don't know. I just feel wary about it. But
sometimes if you even have the idea, I'll kind of keep it in the back of my head, and sometimes it just comes out naturally.
Yeah.
So where, especially if another comic around you, no matter what level, if they go, "Is that a bit?"
Yeah.
And it's not like they're mad. They're just kind of like, "Are you doing a bit? If that's not a bit, you should possibly make that a bit."
Yeah.
You should always pull out the phone and notepad that super quick.
Yeah, definitely.
If somebody else, if one of the comics are applauding you on just being naturally funny, just be like, "Thank you."
Yeah.
That's whenever you can get that hubris. Whenever you go on stage and go, "I got this."
You're right, yeah.
And then do exactly what we normally do is halfway get that.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Ugh.
Yeah, the whole like joke stealing thing is just is terrifying to me because it's like it's one of those things that is hard to prove. I mean, easy to prove if there was a joke that was similar, but I mean, hard to prove if it was intentional or not. You know what I mean? And it's just like it is such a like the worst thing you can do in comedy, understandably.
Oh yeah.
So it's like, I especially lately, after like the Amy Schumer thing, I really was just like, okay, I've really got, and sometimes I just, I have a funny thing that pops in my head, and I just want to say it, but I just, really try hard to write stuff that's very like me and that someone else couldn't even do. You know.
I started out just trying to be me, and then I worked into, because I love Dave Attell, and Dave Attell is just set up punchline dirty jokes, and I think that's hilarious. Yeah. Because you can just keep on assaulting. For lack of a better term, you just assault him with jokes, to where you cannot stop laughing from the last one before you're laughing about the next one. You know, it's almost like a blur of laughter. Like, I've seen him live, and it's just my ribs hurt. You know, at the end of it, and he was doing jokes I've heard before. Right. And I moved into that for a little bit, and now that's what you need to do. You need to find that balance of where you can just write a joke, but you can tell that joke won't come from anybody else but you. Yeah, is what I think. I think that's what makes a lot of people successful in just joke writing in general. But also at the same time, just writing a joke, like you said, somebody could just lift that up and just say, "The other day, yada yada yada, punchline," and you can't come back and say, "Hey, that's mine." Right. You know, because it's so, for lack of a better term, maybe generic. Yeah. Yeah. And has there been any big ones come out since Amy Schumer? And I still don't consider that thievery. I mean, I've looked over it. It's parallel thinking at best. It's hacky, but
that's,
I mean,
that's what Amy Schumer was, honestly. But it was the backlash of it.
Yeah, that's just people just wanting to jump on the backs of somebody famous. I mean, and I like Amy Schumer. I think she's funny. I don't, I'm not the biggest fan in the world. Yeah, but I don't think she's a thief. By any means.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. Yeah.
Yeah. And there hasn't been a major one. I mean, Carlos Mencia just basically came out and said he did that. Yeah. He just came out straight out. I mean, I guess if you're going to steal, you might as well just be honest about it. And he's
own it.
Multi-millionaire, I guess, because of that now. But yeah, there hasn't been a good comedy scandal in a minute, has there?
That's true. We need to start one.
Yeah, we need to get one. Let's see. Trying to think of a good.
Racism is always easy. We can just do that.
Yeah, that's right. We just Carrot Top.
What did he do?
He hates the. I don't want to say it.
Okay.
Somebody will just take that sound clip and be like, "Hey, remember whenever this guy said Carrot Top was a white nationalist?"
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a hell of a thing. Wow. You can tell by the way he is. Absolutely never says it or does anything to make you feel that way. So, he's harboring something.
Oh, yeah. I don't know.
Please edit that out.
Okay.
Actually, you keep it in.
Okay. I haven't watched enough Carrot Top. I do know that he regularly performs at the Pyramid in Las Vegas. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys that do that now.
Yeah. That's got to, you got to have it made. You got a certain amount of celebrity, whatever, and you're, big shot in Vegas and, just hang out, have a nice house. And
yeah, could you imagine you just have your Vegas home for when you're in Vegas to do your shows? So you may do that every other week. Yeah. And then you have your, James Hetfield house in Hawaii or whatever.
Yeah,
you just go, well, I guess I'm going to take some time off to my house.
Yep. It's pretty nice, for sure. We haven't even got to it yet. We were going to talk about one of our mutual favorite movies.
Oh, yeah.
On the planet. Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man.
Oh, boy. It's right now, if you could just edit in just that opening scene.
Oh, I know. It's the best.
Probably. Okay, so I plan on doing this in the future, so I'll just go ahead and throw it out there now, so I'll have to do it.
Okay, yeah.
I was going to do a podcast. I grew up without a male role model, without a dad. I was raised by my grandmother. So everything that I learned how I learned how to be a man was through all these old VHS action movies and stuff. And they would just let me watch whatever. They're just like, please, kid, leave us alone. Watch this movie. Yeah. And Harley Davidson and Marlboro Man was one, once I revisited it, I didn't realize how many things I took from that movie in my life. There's one scene. Oh, I guess we should just tell what the movie's about before before I start blathering about it.
Yeah. You go for it.
So it's in the near future of 1996 at the time.
Yeah, it's so silly. Yeah, it's 4 years in the future.
Exactly. It was 91, 92's the movie came out, and they're like, "Oh man, everything's going to change drastically in 4 years." So it's the near future of 1996. Mickey Rourke is Harley Davidson. Yeah, and he's coming to Los Angeles to meet his friend the Marlboro Man, which is played by Don Johnson.
Yeah,
and he does in fact ride a Harley Davidson all the way there.
And that movie sold a lot of motorcycles and unlit cigarettes, by the way.
Motorcycles, unlit cigarettes, and was it a Desert Eagle that he shot with one hand?
Yep.
There's one. Okay, well, I'll get to that.
And my dad has that exact gun, same finish and everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I tried to buy it from him, but he couldn't find it.
He has so many guns, he can't find a gun.
Yeah.
It might be in that stack of guns.
Oh yeah, he lost one for like several months one time, and then we finally found it.
That's so funny.
One of my guns got thrown away in the trash, so it might be better.
You imagine the garbage man that finds that. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, I hid it in a cereal box that apparently expired and got thrown away. Anyways,
I will ask you this: why did you hide it in a cereal box?
I was going out of town.
Oh, okay.
And I just, it's an old trick. You don't ever put all your eggs in one basket, all your
That
guns
is true.
in one spot,
Yeah,
one safe.
don't put all your guns in one cereal box.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So, Mickey Rourke, Harley Davidson, is traveling to meet Don Johnson, the Marlboro Man,
Yep.
in Los Angeles, and Los Angeles now, in this distant future.
And they're like old friends.
Oh, yeah, they're old buddies, and the most of Los Angeles now is just an airport. I think is what they said. So most of Los Angeles got turned into an airport. So they go to a bar to help out a guy named Pops. I think he has like an old jazz or blues bar.
Yeah. And it has like a pool hall sort of too.
Sort of, kind of. It's a very odd place.
Yeah.
Thus is the future, It's
Right.
very weird to us,
Oh, yeah.
past people.
And there was like a plane that had like crashed into the ceiling or something.
Yeah, it was such. There's so much good decor in that place.
Yeah, there is.
It's hard to just pick out just the one plane that crashed into it. And so they meet up and they're trying to help Pops save the bar.
Right.
And they do this by robbing an armored car because, why not?
Yep.
Just to find out that that was a major drug dealer and I guess.
And not just your regular run of the mill drugs, like some kind of new age, like extra scary drug.
Yeah, it's called Blue Dream.
Yeah.
And apparently it makes you hallucinate, I guess.
It's like they took all the drugs and rolled into one. It's like speed that makes you hallucinate or something.
Yeah, they took what inspired meth.
Yeah.
Somebody's like, I can just take a bunch of different drugs and make this one
super drug.
I always say good drug.
Yeah.
This one really good drug. And then they have to shoot their way out of it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of just explosions.
Bulletproof trench coats.
Bulletproof trench coats. There's a Baldwin brother, Daniel Baldwin's in it with a.
Yep.
He's very slicked up in it.
And they've all got those is there a name for those guys, that like squad or whatever?
I don't know. They all have
they're Steyr AUGs, the rifles that they have.
Oh, okay.
Which is that rifle was also used in Die Hard. If you remember, one of the main bad guys, not the main bad guy in Die Hard, what's his name, who's in Harry Potter or whatever.
Franz?
Yeah, I can't remember. But the guy that was like blonde hair, like very tall blonde.
Oh yeah, the guy he gets the machine gun from, where he he hangs him or
Alan
whatever.
Rickman?
No, not Alan Rickman.
Yeah.
He was sort of the second man in charge. He is like at the end of the movie, he's like hanging. He like comes back and then the guy from Family Matters shoots him.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, it's the big blonde guy. Like he was just like the monstrous one.
Yeah. But that gun that he had, was the same. It was a Steyr AUG, the same one that they had in.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if that was the guy that he put ho ho ho. Now I have a machine gun on.
No, I don't think so. That was a different guy, I think.
All right, it's been a long time since I've seen that movie.
Yeah, but that was a great
I've seen
movie.
Harley Davidson and Marlboro Man more recently.
Yeah.
Than I've seen Die Hard, which is, some people will argue one of the best Christmas movies ever made.
Yeah, I could see that.
But I'll go. Gremlins is too far up there.
Yeah.
And because I'm a horror movie fan, Black Christmas. Pretty good, too. Yeah, that was going to be one of the main movies I was going to say helped shape me as a man.
Yeah.
Don Johnson at one point is walking around a pool table, and he's also playing he's playing against the Native American, which is a cowboy versus Indian reference. I'm sure.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm sure they just wanted to slip that in.
Yeah.
And they're I can't remember if they're playing for $200 or the right to sleep with the Native American dude's girlfriend.
I think it was money. I think
it started out as money, but he mentioned something about his girlfriend.
Yeah, I think so.
And he talks about playing pool is you got to chalk your stick in between every single shot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. He wears a pair of boots that his dad gave him because he
And they're
rode
like
it.
torn up and like they're like duct taped together basically.
But it's the last thing his old man gave him and all that stuff. And I was like, that taught me how to be sentimental.
Yeah.
Taught me how to shoot pool. Gave me a couple other good sayings. They talked to the deaf guy. And for some odd reason, nobody ever does sign language back to him.
That's true.
But he always understands everybody. And Don Johnson can read sign language.
I think he learned it when he was a detective in Miami.
That would make total sense. Because the deaf guy says, he asked, Harley Davidson asked the deaf guy, hey, how you been? I guess he reads his lips or whatever. Then he signs something back and he goes, chomping at the bit, trying to get some of that action. So I used that in my teenage years, ironically, and as something I would honestly say.
Yeah.
To be like, how you been? I'd be like chomping at the bit, trying to get some action. You would see older dudes go, it's pretty cool. And you would see younger people go, that's lame, but it's funny. That's such a good movie.
Yeah, it is. That's so great. And then there's so much like cool shooting, like the Desert Eagles in there.
Don Johnson does a backward somersault, which is just basically a roll on the ground.
Yeah.
And then he shoots his Kawasaki motorcycle about 8 times.
Yeah.
With a Desert Eagle, and I don't even think he puts 2 hands on it. And
I don't think so.
He was such a man, it barely even kicks.
Yep.
It was quite the display.
Yeah, and then Mickey Rourke, Harley Davidson had the Ruger Blackhawk, I believe it was, at 454 Casole, which is a monstrous round.
Yeah, and he didn't know how to shoot it either.
No, understandably. I mean, those.
Yeah, that one, not even Don Johnson would, or excuse me, Marlboro Man would help.
Right. Yeah. Handguns are hard enough to shoot, and you got one that like is terrifying to fire. I mean, makes it a little more difficult.
And that's the one he gave him. That was like his starter out because, if I'm not mistaken, he's kind of like, I'm not good with guns. He's like, well, here, take this one instead.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I'll take the Desert Eagle.
Yeah, that's right, because he got the Desert Eagle from foiling that robbery. Which he wasn't even gonna do anything about. Initially, he was just going to pay for his gas or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good robbery scene. There's
it is.
Nothing
like literally, he was just paying for his gas. He was kind of like, whatever.
He's like, I want $5 on pump 10.
Yeah.
And this other guy's like, hey, give me all your money. He's like, well, I guess I'm going to stop this robbery now.
Yeah, I guess so now I'm involved.
Beats 2 armed assailants half to death.
Yeah.
And then says keep the change, so he gets to keep. And also keeping that Desert Eagle from 2 guys that are like maybe like coked out or cracked out or something.
Or something, yeah.
Yeah, they're robbing. You just don't rob a gas station.
Sober, no.
Yeah, you just don't. You don't wake up and go, my to-do list: rob gas station.
Yeah,
with dangerous weapon.
This is my new business venture.
Yeah, with this gun, with this crazy big gun.
Yeah,
and so he just keeps it.
Yeah,
so that's what got me. I was like, there could have been so many murders on that gun.
That's true. Yeah.
Very illegal, probably purchased handgun. And he goes, I'll just keep this and I'll ride down the road without a helmet on my motorcycle.
Yeah.
Hopefully I don't get pulled over.
Yeah. Oh, and where did he put that gun? It's like he had a holster or anything.
Oh, he just put it down the back of his pants.
That's right. He did. Yeah, which I would think would have either been incredibly uncomfortable or fallen out or both.
Yeah. I mean, the only time that I've seen somebody put a gun down the back of their pants, besides that guy I saw at a Zaxby's Chicken.
Yeah.
He was just walking around with the sweatpants and a gun in the back of it. That's one of the few times I've saw somebody carry a gun in public that I was like, I need to get out of I need to get out of my favorite chicken joint.
Yeah.
And run down the road.
Yeah, that's frustrating. Yeah. To do that.
It looked like he even like tucked his shirt in the back to be like, hey guys, I want everybody to know that this gun could fall off my pants and go off.
Yeah. Because like people that actually want to continue carrying guns around responsibly, like people like this, ruin it. Like I saw there's this thing they do. I don't participate in it. I forget what it's called. It's like the second something. It has to do with the Second Amendment, and it's like the second day of every month or something like that. You're supposed to like open carry as like awareness or something.
Okay.
That people. The idea is like, because there is this idea that the people who carry guns is like this little small fringe group, and it's like a way to show that it's actually more people than you think.
Yeah.
Except that, most people tend to agree that open carry is not tactically smart. makes people nervous unnecessarily.
Yeah.
So
And I think I even heard your old man say once, he was like, if you're carrying it to like help save or, you know, in case something goes down.
You don't want them to know you have it.
Exactly. Because if I was like the terrorist guy going into the bank or whatever, and I'm like, I'm going to shoot some people, I would start with the guy with the gun.
Yeah.
I was like, I better get that guy out of the way now.
Yeah, exactly. So even that I don't think really serves much purpose. There's some people who hold that whole concept very near and dear to their heart of open carry, but you know, it's not my thing. And
it did not make me feel any safer in that Zaxby's chicken.
Yeah, it wouldn't, you know. But but I saw this guy at Best Buy. And I later found out that was why he was doing this. At the time, I didn't even know. But he had 4 guns on him, 3, I think. Yeah, it was 3. A little more reasonable. he had 1 on each hip and then 1 on his back, and he also, on top of that, they were just very sloppily carried, and like whenever you see people like that, they're always carrying it in like a $20 holster.
Yeah.
It seems
Unless
like,
he's dressed up like a cowboy out of like Deadwood or
yeah,
something.
exactly. Yeah,
that's the first thing that hit my mind. I was like, well, that's an old pioneer or something.
Yeah. And you know, and there's these people who are like whispering, like, "Oh man," you know, and someone had like called the cops, and there was a cop there, and the cop, you know, he was like, "Well, you know, it's his right," so he was just kind of hanging out, just making sure that nothing happened or whatever. But see, that's all that could be so easily avoided. It's annoying when people do that.
Yeah, yeah, and it makes people like you, and hopefully a lot of your fans and stuff that are listening and watching, that it makes them look bad. It makes everybody look like a nut if they want to carry a gun. And
Exactly. And you know, and there are nuts out there, but we're not all nuts.
They're few and far between.
Yeah.
The nuts get on the news no matter if they do it with a gun or they're trying to fly like a remote control plane into the White House or whatever. They always get what they want. They get on the news exactly the way they want to do it. So I mean, it's not necessarily the gun's fault.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I like, you know, with this recent shooting, I'm trying to like, you know, I already know not to do it, but I'm trying to like encourage other people. Let's not make a big deal about the fact that he was a Bernie Sanders supporter and all this kind of stuff, because it's like, come on, we know that doesn't matter.
Yeah, the real problem, baseball.
Right, exactly. Yeah,
the real problem, baseball needs to be faster paced.
Yeah, exactly.
They got to get rid of those old rules.
Yeah.
But I could harp about that all day.
Bulletproof vests underneath the uniforms.
Yeah, I want to see my hind catcher in full like
armor.
Yeah, full armor.
Yeah. But it's like, you know, you know, the conservatives and people who like guns would complain all the time because, like, you know, we get blamed anytime, like some crazy wacko conservative guy shoots somebody, shoots up someplace. You know, people like me get blamed for it. So like, why would I do the opposite? That's crazy. You know?
That's exactly. That's
hypocritical.
It's like somebody punching you in the face, and you go, "Well, that hurt real bad, so I'm just gonna punch you in the face now."
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it doesn't solve anything. It just makes everybody just point fingers at each other.
Right. Yeah. See, look at you. You did it too. You know.
Yeah.
It doesn't help anything.
Yeah.
You know.
Sometimes makes me wonder if politics are the problem.
Maybe.
Yeah, I don't want to get into that.
Yeah. Yeah, just maybe.
Yeah, sometimes whenever people just choose either good or bad in their mind, and there's no gray area, sometimes somebody just wants to bust up a softball game.
And to a certain extent, people are going to do crazy things. There's more people than ever. There's a better chance for crazy things to happen than ever. You know, it's part of our society. You know, it's part of our life. And also with the arguing of politics, it's like I wish we could almost like go back to the basics and like start at square one and be like, look, let's understand the problem. Okay, the problem is with a society is, you know, it's a bunch of different people. We all have different ideas about things, and it's part of what makes, you know, us great in a way. The whole world, you know, not just America or whatever. But we have different ideas about things, and we want to be able to have fun in the ways that we like to have fun, but we don't want someone else's fun to prevent us from our fun, and, you know, and vice versa. That's what it comes down to. And there's some overlap there. There's some Venn diagrams going on. So we have to figure out some way to make it to where it's a nice, fair balance, you know, for all those things. You know, I want to get to have fun with all my cool guns and stuff. Yeah. Because I know I'm not going to encroach on anyone else's fun. Yeah. You know, so give me a way to do that. I'm okay with, you know, coming up with some kind of way that makes people feel a little bit better about me doing that, you know.
Yeah, and now more than ever too, I think probably actually I know because of politics, you have more people wanting to like toss out more bravado, whether it be left or right.
Yeah.
You know, so I've seen like, I see a kid in Zaxby's that's like just carrying the gun in the
Right,
back of his
yeah.
sweatpants, probably just to piss off a liberal.
Right, yeah.
Is what I would imagine. And
Yeah.
now I'm seeing liberals now just more than ever. Like I took a trip to Seattle, and Seattle's a great place. So is Washington State. But some of the mics that I did up there and stuff, and listened to like people talk, they pretty much talked down about like they used my accent at any time they could to show somebody being stupid.
Yeah.
And it's just a finger point back and forth, and it just keeps on escalating.
Right.
And it's not worth it. Whenever you could just be like, you wanna just carry a gun, that's fine. Put some
Yeah.
rules around it to make sure not every,
Right.
maybe every felon I've ever met could have one, because I had some of those in my family.
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
and sometimes they're not the best people to be carrying a gun while they
Right.
drink their 12-pack of beer at noon.
Yeah, I know, and it's frustrating because, like, I've mentioned this a billion times, and I make people mad every time I do it. But it's like, there is a way to somewhat meet in the middle, because, like, from the gun side, which, I agree with this to an extent, is like we don't want any more regulations on guns, because it seems like it's just, they're just constantly like, it's like. You give them an inch, they take a mile, kind of thing.
Absolutely.
They're just taking them as much as they can. Every little piddly thing. So it's like you have to put up this stone wall, just so that you can try to hang on to what you got. Which that sort of has to be from our side of things, because we'll lose stuff. When you lose stuff, it's really hard to get it back.
Yeah.
But it would be so great in a perfect world, if we could all sort of sit down and like kind of rethink the whole thing and come to some kind of conclusion, because at the end of the day, we want to be able to protect our families. We want to get to have cool guns to play with. We want the government to not know what guns we have. That is part of the Second Amendment. We want to feel like we have people that are responsible have guns that are at least very similar to guns that the military might have, or like at least like what a foot soldier would have. Not necessarily like surface to air missiles, or anything like that. Just an average foot soldier's weapons and stuff. But the problem is there's certain people that maybe society is uncomfortable with having guns like that, and I totally understand that. But a lot of the ways that the left side of thinking on that wants to take care of that problem, also puts more government overreach into, like, the government knowing who all has guns and what they have, and that sort of kind of goes against what the Second Amendment was about and all that kind of stuff. So my kind of solution to this problem has been that we have a card, permit, certification, whatever you want to call it, that is set up kind of like the carry permit. That is it's a shall issue, where they have to give it to you no matter what, as long as you meet a very clear, laid out criteria. And I think that criteria, it could be debated some, but mostly it should be anyone who has been convicted of any type of violent crime, especially involving a weapon of any kind. Like a violent domestic. I think there's got to be a little bit of a distinction on domestic violence. Like if you got mad and you sort of got into like a little bit of a fist fight or something with somebody you're living with, that the context needs to sort of matter there. But especially if you pick up a weapon, or
it's weird how they can schedule out like drugs being from one end to the spectrum to the other, of being like, this one's okay,
right.
This one's less of a crime than this one being a crime. So you have schedules,
right?
But they can't do that with other stuff.
Yeah, that's weird. It's so weird.
They can really focus in on that.
Yeah, but not when it comes to violence, because it's kind of scary. It's like, what if someone like you get mad or something, you accidentally punch somebody? I never felt like I was going to do that, but
you could even just like just be at home and get into a big yelling match. Domestic violence isn't always like a male-female relationship,
right.
or like a marriage type relationship.
It could be like it could be a roommate even.
It could be a roommate or something like that, and then the other person just says, "Hey, you're kind of flipping out on me. I'm going to call the cops on you." And if they get there and the cops decide to arrest you over, they decide to press charges on you, you can go for a domestic dispute or a domestic assault or something on that too. And that could be on your record for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
And you just be like, well, I just screamed and kind of threw the ashtray out the window.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. Now you can't buy a gun or you can have a hard time getting a job.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. So, limited to people who have been convicted of violent felonies. You know, so like people have maybe written a bad check or something or a drug offender or whatever. Like just because they've committed a crime doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be irresponsible with a gun.
Sure,
you know?
yeah.
That's what I look at it. So, whatever the criteria is, and then you submit an application or whatever you do, to get that license, and once you have it, then you can go and buy guns like without even having to go through the background check and all that, because that's already been done on you. Like that ID, that license is attached to your person, and it's updated. So if something happens, if you do get convicted, then it's like it gets revoked, like a license being suspended or something like that, and then you can go and buy guns. And the government doesn't know who has the guns because it's not the gun that's registered; it's the person that's registered. You know what I mean?
Now, I have a feeling the people that are against your way of thinking, it's because you have to register as a person.
Right.
So they're worried about the whole Big Brother thing.
Right. And the thing is, the government, I don't want them to know necessarily what guns I have, but I don't necessarily worry about the government knowing if I have guns or not because, well, one, it's obvious. And two,
you're pretty transparent about it.
Yeah, and also they could figure that out. Teddy, get out of there. Damn cat.
He'll come back.
Yeah. I feel like he's going to chew on a wire or something back there.
Or like the whole sandbag wall is just going to come crashing down.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that.
It's not actual sand, so we're good.
Okay, good. Oh, yeah, I
The
remember
whole
whatever
mulch
you got.
bag wall.
Yeah.
All because of one cat.
Yeah. But people make that argument. They're like, it's ridiculous that you have to register your car, but you don't have to register your gun or whatever. It's pretty different. You actually don't have to register a car. You just have to register it to take it onto a road, a public road.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a little different, and in a way, it is kind of like, I guess cars are. I mean, they are actually registered, but to me, it makes more sense to register the person as being this person is capable of this responsibility.
Yeah. And if people are honestly worried, I mean, considering what came out with Edward Snowden.
Yeah.
However many years ago, 4 or 5 years ago, and people are more worried about that. They're already kind of watching us.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying lay down towards the government or anything.
No.
But I mean, if they're already doing that and you can still keep most of your liberties,
right?
Then why not?
Yeah, to a certain extent.
I know I sounded very defeated at the end. I was like, well, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. No, I agree with you though. They do know certain things. It's like you're gonna be like Alex Jones, just constantly worry about they know every little thing about you.
Yeah.
I mean, the main thing is that they can't use that information like that against you in court. That's where I feel like it would become an issue.
Yeah.
If someone took me to court over something that they had no business knowing, and it was from spying illegally, I would raise some hell over that.
Yeah.
It's different.
It makes me want to just get on Google and just Google crazier stuff than I already do.
Yeah.
Just so if they need to sift through it, like if like something happens and they really need to do a check on me, they're going to have to go through some just borderline.
That's right.
Just crazy.
Needle on a sack of needles.
Oh, yeah. They're just like, man, well, whenever we got through the third girls farting on birthday cakes video, we found here that he does enjoy housekeeping.
I know
he does enjoy Good Housekeeping magazine.
Yeah.
So
I know I'm doing the afternoon now. I'm looking that video up.
They're out there. I watched one the other day that was apparently people find that erotic. As
interesting,
people
for sure.
farting on each other.
Interesting for sure. I can definitely see that part of it.
It's definitely you'll watch it once and be like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
If you watch it more than once, then you know you got a new thing.
Yeah, that's true. Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. Yeah, because it is a weird thing. It's hard to talk to other people about.
Yeah, it is.
Maybe I've got this new thing I want to try.
Yeah.
And I guess just got this birthday cake from Kroger. So
yeah, it is your birthday, so it's perfect time to talk about it.
Exactly. Eat all these beans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then blow out your candles. No.
Not that way.
Yeah, the other way.
Yeah, in a more like Ace Ventura talking kind of way. Oh, man. But yeah, so on the gun thing, so people will, the thing with the Second Amendment that people on the pro-gun side, the side that I'm on, obviously, it's it is a right. It's in the Constitution, or it's in the Bill of Rights, and a lot of people will have this attitude that because it says arms, which arms could literally mean any weapon.
Yeah, I was thinking like a sword.
It could mean anything from like anything that was built to like hurt somebody, basically. And I don't necessarily think that it was meant that way. They'll say that we should be able to have Black Hawk helicopters and all this kind of stuff. The expense will keep it out of the wrong hands. Really, the expense, because people with a lot of money, they always have the most moral high ground. And also, I don't think you should use money as a way to litigate things or to prevent people from having things. They cost what they cost. You don't.
Yeah, they've been doing that with cigarettes for years.
Yeah, and that's ridiculous. Yeah, that's crazy. And to me, what the Second Amendment is saying, my own interpretation of it is that it's because it was written in a different time. When they say arms, what they mean is like the type of arms that like a small fighting force would use, basically, right?
Yeah.
So like small arms, like rifles. I think it does extend to things like machine guns, and stuff like that. I think when you get into like explosives and things like that, I think that's when it's. I don't necessarily agree that we should go into a gun shop and buy grenades.
Yeah.
And here's the thing too that people forget. As a civilian, you don't have to be in the military to own a grenade or a bazooka or C4 or a tank that shoots. You don't have to. You have to go through a lot of stuff to do it.
Yeah.
You have to register with the government to be you're like a manufacturer, a tester, and all these kind of things. Like you can do it, but I just don't think that like certain things like that should be completely readily available. I mean, we go to Walmart and buy C4. I mean, come on.
Yeah. And not only that, if you're going to buy a tank and just be like, I'm just going to cruise around on my 2-acre lot or something with that, it's like, no, you buy a tank that blow up a building.
Yeah. Well, now of course you can't buy a tank just like a car. But now it won't.
It just won't
it's
shoot.
It's the rounds.
Oh, okay. But once again, why buy a tank if you can't?
Because it's a tank.
Shoot some stuff. Yeah, I guess you got a point.
I'll be honest. I would totally buy a tank if I had the money and the place for it.
Now I wish that we could see my thought bubble. After I was like, why buy a tank if you can't shoot it? And the only thing I could see was a tank just driving over a car.
Yeah.
I was like, that's why.
Yeah.
That makes total sense.
Yeah. Because like my philosophy is on that the government became too tyrannical and it was so obvious that the populace was ready to fight back. Like, it should be, we have enough weapons to where like a large group of people could put up a good fight against the government, but like a few idiots couldn't.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I think that's what it's about.
Yeah.
But I don't know. People disagree. They say people don't even like carry permits. They say like the Second Amendment is my carry permit. We live in a society full of lots of different people with lots of different ideas. There's certain things that we have to, we have to take other people's, situations and thoughts and feelings into words.
Account.
Into account. To a certain extent. But I don't know.
Yeah, it's all a part of you. You probably just want to be a good neighbor to everybody else instead of just being like, you're wrong, wrong, I'm right. I'm the same way. I feel the same way. I think we need to have third and fourth parties for political reasons, stuff like that. And also, sometimes if people are way too into one thing, it scares me. Whether it be just like Magic the Gathering cards or something.
Yes.
I'm just kind of like, okay, you're way too far into this.
You're in a bubble, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can't see outside of it. If I come up and I'm playing Magic the Gathering, this is such a bad analogy for this podcast.
It's perfect.
If you're playing Magic the Gathering and I come up and I'm like, hey, I like to play that sometimes too, and that's all they can talk to me about, it kind of scares me.
Yeah.
Where I'm just like, you need to get out just a little bit more. I know you have this really fun, for lack of a better term, obsession, but it's like that with anything. It's like if you just have to see how other people react to something, and whether you agree with it or not, you can kind of respect it. instead of just being like, I'm just going to close off and be like, since you don't like this, I don't like you.
Right.
And I think that's what a lot of people are doing. And maybe they always have been, but maybe just over the course of the past year, I've just noticed it so much more.
Yeah, I think it's the diversification of entertainment and like there's more people, there's more outlets for like different things. It's easier to be in a bubble than it used to be.
True.
Because everything has gotten so big. Like if you were into like that book you brought me, if you're into like UFOs, let's say, back 20 or 30 years ago, you had to work at it to find content about UFOs.
Exactly. You had that one Time Life book that I just bought.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. There might have been, a magazine here and there that you could find, mail order, whatever, occasional TV show about it, a news story or, book at the library. You had to work at it, to find something like that. So it sort of like kept you from being too much in. I'm sure there were some, but it kept most people from being too much in a big bubble of something like that was kind of on the fringe because there wasn't a lot of content out there for it now. But now with the internet, it's like there's an abundance of content in every single category you can think of. It's like a sea of it, so you can just bathe in a sea of UFO content that's so far and wide that you can't even see the edges of reality anymore, And I think that's part of it. It's just everything's just kind of spread out. Everyone's gone to their little corners, and then they hear things from other corners, and they're like, "Oh, what's that about?" Screw those guys,
It's almost an internet joke now, basically, to just be like, I don't need to leave the house. I have the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, at least like back in the day, if you wanted to find more of that UFO content, and then you did find it and you found the other person, you had a bond right there automatically. Right. But you also had a life outside of that you had to have, because if you didn't, people would be like, there's a crazy UFO guy that lives in my apartment building. And do not walk by that door past 12 or he'll be taking pictures because he sees a sprite go through the wall. Or something like that. So I think you formed a little bit better of a bond whenever you had to get out and physically find this stuff. But at the same time, we wouldn't be talking about half of it if it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
So, but it does divide. I think, maybe people have always been more divided. I'm just now paying attention to it.
Yeah, or the internet allows us to be more so or something.
And I'm such a fence rider, gray area guy that I want to listen to everybody's opinion before I make my own, that I didn't realize how many people just did not want to hear it. They were settled on what they believed by the time they were like 10 and just went, that's it. That's as good as I need.
Yeah. See, I'm kind of in the middle because I'm afraid of being like too wrong. I know I have to be wrong about some things. Everybody is, but it's like I don't want to be like very wrong. You know what I mean?
That's the reason why, even though I don't have any major religious beliefs, but I still keep the Bible that I got whenever I was a kid, just in case. Just in case I hear like a big trumpet blow, I'm like, let's just go ahead.
That's like your ticket. You gotta grab it when you run out of the house. Like,
I know it's got something nice written in it from like my grandmother and I think the preacher at the church I went to growing up. So I'm like, okay, that at least gets me in somewhere. I don't go to the worst place. I go to a notch up.
Gives you a chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Keep a Bible from like every, you got like the Quran, you got Scientology,
I just have a bag. It's like, what's your bug out bag? And just open it up and it's just different Bibles.
Oh man, that'd be a great, like, if someone made a book of that, it was all the like the major religions. You have to include Scientology just because it would be funny. And it's like all in one book. It's like they're all in there.
Just like the quintessential how to get to heaven or Nirvana or
It's just
that's great.
It's just one book with them all in there.
God, I hope somebody out there listening does that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Because I know I do not have enough. I just would never do it. I was like almost inspiration. I was like, no, I just got the inspiration from you. I was like, I'm just not going to do it.
I'm not either.
And that would be great.
Maybe the flying spaghetti monsters could be in there too.
Oh yeah, I forgot that's an actual religion now.
Yeah,
that's a fun one.
It's kind of cool, really. I like how they some of them were able to get their license photos taken with the colander on their head. It's pretty cool.
Oh man, I know everybody that works in a DMV for the most part seems miserable.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But wouldn't that would make me so? Maybe I'm just that personality type that like the weirder the better sometimes. So I would be miserable at that job 364 days out of the year. And then all of a sudden somebody walks in with a colander and goes, no, it's religious. I'll be like, you sit right down. I'll take your picture.
Yeah.
Shake their
definitely.
hand. I'll be like, I'm going to, you know, can I keep one of your pictures? Yeah. Get my picture taken with you in this license.
Yeah. Oh, man. It's so cool. You know, they'll never admit that they're not an actual religion.
Why would you?
But I think most people know it's an exercise.
Yeah.
It's a cool exercise. But
That's like the Iron Sheik from wrestling, just coming out and being like, hey, guys, I'm not really a sheik.
Yeah.
I'd be like, no, you stay in character forever, dude.
Yeah. I made this whole thing up.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd be like, wait a minute, you even wore those pointy shoes and you didn't even have to? It looks so uncomfortable.
Yeah. It's funny because they like sell stuff on Amazon. You know, they've got like little things. They even thought about getting some. It's because it'd be funny.
That would be. That'd be a nice little pin to have.
Yeah. It's like I think their icon is like, it's like a little meatball with a face and it's got like spaghetti things. I think like, do they eat spaghetti or is it like with the sacred cow thing?
I didn't read into it enough. All right, I'll just be honest. I mostly looked at the pictures, and
Yeah.
there was like they took over. What was it? I think it's Michelangelo. I'm going to get this wrong. I think it's on the ceiling of the Sistine Chapel,
Yeah.
and it's like creation or whatever, and it shows like Adam touching God's finger
Yeah,
or
yeah.
something.
Mhm.
God, that. I just hope anybody out there with a decent IQ is just like sweating, just so mad. They're like Adam touching God's finger on the Sistine Chapel. But they replaced God with a spaghetti monster touching it. I was like, I kind of want to have that framed at my
Yeah.
house.
That is pretty awesome. Yeah.
But then again, you know, my religious family might come over and be like, Josh, how you been? I'm like, pretty good. And they're like, why do you have an abomination hanging on your wall?
Yeah.
Let me go ahead and get the priest over here. We'll
Yeah.
start burning sage. Well, I guess they don't burn sage. It's been a long time since I've been to church, folks.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh man, it's watching like 100 years. It'll actually be a for real serious religion.
If you could just cryogenically freeze yourself, like what was that movie, Demolition Man?
Oh, it's a great movie.
Yeah. If you could just freeze yourself and just come back and be like, you guys are doing this now?
Yeah.
Or even have some people from like the 1400s come back and be like, really, this? And be like, aren't you amazed by the cars? Like, no, by the way you're acting. You guys are acting like jerks.
I wish I could actually freeze yourself and do that because I'd like to give it another 10 years in this one, and 10 years I'll be 40, and I'll just go ahead and freeze myself, and then do another 20 in like 100 years from now. I think that'd be kind of fun.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Unless you come back and it's like Idiocracy.
It's all
or
done.
whatever. Yeah, it's you just go for some. You get out and you're like, oh, radiation everywhere.
Yeah.
Oh man.
If you do that, I'm gonna figure out how to live to be like 150, so I can be like, it's so good to see you. I waited for you.
I like how you didn't even want to be frozen too. You just wanted to live that long.
Long enough to mess with him.
That would be a great reunion.
Yes.
Oh man.
I would be like, oh, I'm so glad.
It'll be like in
My 120-year-old wife.
it'd be like in Interstellar when like Matthew McConaughey, like I don't remember, he's Matthew McConaughey in every movie. I don't care what his name was.
Very true.
Like he sees at the end of the movie, he sees like his daughter or something.
Oh, and she's
she's
gotten
like,
real old?
He's like the same age, and she's like 100 or something.
I wonder how many people are going to get really mad that we just told the end of that movie.
Oh, I didn't think
Here,
about
I'll go
it.
ahead and tell you the end of the Harley
It's
Davidson
been
and
out for,
Marlboro
like
Man.
a year and a half.
Do
Hasn't
it?
it?
No, it's been out
Interstellar?
almost 2 years, I bet.
I feel like there's a grace period. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's been on Amazon Prime
Yeah.
for like.
and that doesn't exactly
If you
ruin
wanted to see it,
Yeah.
like you should have seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much better stuff. Here, I'll tell you.
Okay. Yeah.
Have you ever seen those spoiler things on YouTube? Like I saw one where it's like a video someone put together and it just like has like spoilers from like they're just like one sentence from like all these different books and movies. It's hilarious. You'll have to look them up.
I don't particularly care for trolls, but whenever they nail it, they really nail it.
Yeah.
You know, there's a couple of times I've been trolled where I've had to like come back from the keyboard and just go, "Bravo, you really nailed me on this one."
Yeah. It goes both ways for me because, like, well, I'm trying to think. I've never been like nailed by a troll to the point where it really made me like feel bad about myself, what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know, because like at least especially with like the YouTube stuff, it's like I know what I'm doing. If I screwed up, I know that I screwed up. So like no one's gonna like get me on something that like I hadn't realized or something. You know, but I mean, people definitely got me in the sense of where I'm just like, that's just really annoying stuff. It like makes you mad, you know. Before. But it goes the other way too. Like I'll battle it out with them sometimes, you know. And most of the time, it doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah, I mean,
you know. But occasionally, I will burn someone to the ground, and it feels just so good.
and you know why they do it now.
Yeah,
It's like, oh.
yeah, exactly. It doesn't happen often, but there's been a few times where, you know, I've just being completely, you know, what's the words again?
Completely what?
Like like trying to be objective about it. You know, that's the right word, right?
Objective would be. The
Yeah,
word
that's.
there.
I was trying to think. I was like, what's a better word than objective?
Yeah, no, that was the word.
Neutral?
Yeah, but like, you know, I don't want to give myself like undue credit, you know. But sometimes it's just like, no, I'm pretty sure I did burn that person into the ground.
Oh yeah, if I get busted on, like, and even just around friends and stuff, if I get busted on good, I'm almost like high five, dude. I can't come back from that, because that's how I know if I ever start getting on any of these roast battles.
Yeah.
If somebody wins, if somebody beats me, they're really going to beat me, because I'm just going to go, well, I can't do better than that. I'm not going to embarrass myself by even trying. Joe Kelly got me good whenever I started trying to do Twitch and live stream gaming, which lasted, well, you know, not very long, because I couldn't figure it out. But I put on there, I'm going to do this, and Joe Kelly in a comment section went, "Oh, great, something else for you to be forgettable about." And I was just like, oh, that's too good. I was like, I could not like I think I tried to push like on Facebook so many times to be like, you win. You win. I think I might have texted him that. I might have just been like, hey, buddy, that was a good one.
Joe has the best burns.
He really does. He really does. Something about living in a van and being a vagrant that just makes you really mean to everybody else.
It does, yeah. Speaking of burns.
Yeah. Whoops.
Sorry, Joe.
That's who I got to go out to Seattle and see, man. He's doing really well out there, man. I'm really looking forward to what he's doing. His Van Chronicles podcast is always fun.
Yeah. He's been coming on this show too. I've been over the phone,
right. Yeah. Oh, that was recently.
So people know the Joe. They know the Joe Kelly.
They know the Joe Kelly. If you know him, you know him.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's got some great burns. I think he won a roast battle or something like that maybe not while we were out there, but right before we came out there.
Oh, I meant to ask you, how did you feel about doing this? I assume that was your first time going to Seattle.
It was. It really was.
What was the? Of course, Wagner I know has been to L.A. and stuff before, but like, what did you feel like? There was a totally different vibe with the crowds in Seattle.
We didn't get to do as much in the city. You know, I didn't get to do like the underground or anything like that, and we were planning on it, but we basically went out there to do one show, and it was 40 minutes outside of Seattle in a place called Puyallup, if I'm saying that right. Because that was one of the few times you won't hear me say the town I'm in on stage. Like, hey, how you doing?
Yeah.
Because I was like, I might just say this wrong, and they hate me from the get-go.
Yeah.
So I think it was pretty sure it was a bar in Puyallup. The crowd there was similar to some of the bar crowds here. But they were very responsive.
Kind of like the gentrified kind of.
It was kind of redneck.
Really?
It was kind of redneck, but it wasn't redneck at the same time. And I'm trying to work out something if I can. It's kind of like, and I even said it to them. I said, "Is there a lot of rednecks around here?" And they got quiet. And I was like, "I'm not going to make fun of it. I just want to know."
Yeah.
'Cause you can't have that. You can't have that many woods, that much forest in an area, and not have a bunch of guys wearing real trees shooting the deers. Yeah. And I told them, I was like, from what I've noticed about their rednecks is they're the kind of guys that will go out deer hunting, kill the deer, put it on the hood of the car. Ride it around, but then they'll go home and separate their recycling. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They'll
like
wear
progressive kind of redneck.
Very much. They'll wear real tree stuff to like a Tom Waits concert. You know, it's pretty neat, man. It's pretty neat. But yeah, the crowd out there for that one was super responsive, super good, and sometimes you never know, because we were opening up basically for karaoke.
Yeah.
So that usually goes bad.
Yeah.
When people are just like, I can't wait for my turn to sing my song.
Yeah.
Please
Like,
shut
I
up.
hear your jokes first.
Yeah, exactly. Please tell me more about your dating life.
Yeah.
It can be bad, but they were super responsive. It was a lot of fun. In the city, I only went to a few shows, and I did one, and it was just an open mic. So by the time I got to go up 30th, 30th open
man.
micer to go up,
Jeez.
which is people love.
What was the time? 4?
4. I can't remember if it was 4 minutes, 3.5, 4 minutes, something
So
like that.
2
They had
hours in then.
it's way into 2.
Yeah.
No, it was a long night.
Wow.
And a lot of people had left, but everybody was totally responsive there. There was a place, a Thai restaurant that had comedy 4 nights a week, something like that. So I mean, they're big into letting people develop and stuff.
Yeah.
As far as the open micers go, I'm starting to realize it's the same in every town.
Yeah.
You can pick out, like, wherever you started, you could find the carbon copy of one of those open micers in another city.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Because I guess everybody, in a way, kind of starts out the same. So,
Yeah.
I started noticing that. I wish I paid a little bit. I wish I'd written down who was who.
Yeah.
That would have been a lot more fun that I
Yeah.
could bring that back.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's interesting.
You could, I know there was a lot more jokes about Donald Trump out there.
Yeah.
A ton of
Imagine.
those, which that makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the only thing I noticed. I was like, they're way more political than we
Yeah.
are back here because
And Seattle's always kind of been, I guess, a very politically aware kind of
Yeah.
area.
it's
Mostly liberal, but very,
it's so hard nowadays to make. I mean, it's pretty easy to make fun of everything that's going on right now.
Yeah.
Where it's too easy.
right.
I'd rather just go ahead and talk about something else.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
Yeah, I know. I've gotten that way with, like, I did some Trump stuff, at one point, but I just sort of got bored of it.
Yeah. It was a lot more fun to do Trump stuff whenever you didn't think he was going to get elected. And I don't care
Yeah.
either way of what people think for him or against him or whatever, but it's so much easier to do stuff before everybody is either outraged or singing the praises of somebody
Yeah.
because it just splits people down the middle.
Yeah.
Whenever it's just a guy kind of saying some pretty weird stuff on a stage,
Yeah.
you're like, okay, I can roll with this guy.
Right, yeah. And also part of it, too, for me was, like, everyone already, knows that I'm kind of conservative or I'm into guns. So it's
Yeah.
like, I can, if I have stuff that's, like, making fun of Trump, there's a little bit of, like, a surprise factor, for some
Yeah.
people, But I just even got bored of that pretty fast.
Yeah.
Because, like, basically my take on Trump is that, like, I still feel like Hillary would have been worse. That's how I feel like Hillary would have been worse in a less perceptible way. The ways that, even as bad as Trump has been, I feel like the ways that he is screwing up are very obvious and very public and very manageable. And I still feel like that's better than how Hillary would have been. And then also Hillary was, like, probably the most anti-gun presidential candidate that we've seen in the last 50 years. So, of course, I'm not going to want to see her in the office at almost any cost, But I'm not happy about Trump. I think he makes us look bad. I think there's a few ideas that he's had that are not his ideas originally, but there's a few things that he's, like, promoted that were okay. Like, some certain
Infrastructure. I really like that. I haven't seen it happen. Of course, he's not been in very long, but if it happens before the end of the 4 years or however long he's in, I think that's definitely a success.
Right.
But it would be it's still weird to say President Donald Trump.
It is, yeah.
But it'd be even weirder to be like, I'm on, like, say he makes a commuter train from coast to coast. To be like, are you on the Trump line? Which, are you in the east to west Trump line?
Get on that Trump train.
It would it'd just be so weird. It probably wouldn't be weird to a person that's 5 years old right now, or your son that was just born. Like, it would, but it's definitely weird for anybody above the age of 20. Whenever Donald Trump went in to be like, I'm going to get on the Trump train so I can get to work.
Yeah.
But it would still be a great thing. Still be a great thing.
Yeah. And I do think that the healthcare system definitely needs some fixing. But,
oh, absolutely.
If he's the one that fixes it, it'll be called Trump Care.
Yeah,
forever.
and that'll be another weird thing to say.
Yeah. But I don't know. I mean, probably what's going to happen is that he's just going to be incredibly stonewalled. Like if he's going to get anything done, it's going to have to happen before the midterm.
Yeah.
And then once the midterm hits, there's the balance is going to change probably in favor of the Democrats, and he won't be able
the
to.
same way it did with Obama, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he won't be able to do anything.
Which makes you wonder if presidents even.
Yeah. Optimistically, what I'm hoping that the good that comes out of the Trump administration is that both, the right and the left understand that we've got to work together a little more. But as far as like from on the left, I'm hoping that they realize, like, is it really that worth it to come after our guns? Because guns are a big reason that Trump got elected. Maybe not the only reason, but it's a big reason.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people I knew that did not like Trump, but they voted for him. I did not. But they voted for him just because of guns,
Yeah.
It's like guns is one of those things that, like, there's a lot of us out there that we're just like, if we don't have guns, like, like that, that's our starting off, that's our jumping off point. We got to at least have guns.
Yeah.
Once the government's taking our guns, we don't care about anything else. It's like things are very wrong at that point. It's kind of how we feel about it, So I'm hoping that, the left, the Democrats will be like, okay, people are pretty serious about these guns. We don't want another Trump.
It would be funny just to see all the Democrats be like, have you heard about these gun nuts?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're not going away.
No matter how much we ignore them.
Yeah. They're a real tough nut to crack.
I'll tell you what, just let them have the guns and we'll work on some health care. How about that?
Yeah, exactly. I would, hopefully, see if there's a Democrat president next time, it's a little bit more moderate of a Democrat than Hillary was.
Yeah.
Is what I'm hoping is the good thing that comes out of Trump, is we find some common ground. People in the middle finally get a little bit of acknowledgement,
I think that's what's been needed for a long time.
A very long time.
It's basically just people yelling at each other because they like a certain color. Like that's the way I honestly see it. It's just embedded in so many people to be like, I like the color red, and somebody goes, well, you're an idiot for that because I like the color blue. It's like, yeah, but blue does some bad stuff.
Yeah.
And they go, well, that's okay because blue did it, and then red goes, well, but it's just back and forth, the same argument towards each other.
Yeah.
Whenever like you can find people a little bit more moderate, for risk of sounding like a Bernie bro or somebody that'll stop a baseball game, I really like, really like Bernie Sanders. Do I think he could do a whole lot? No, but the idealism of it is what I like, and I think that's something that we're leaving behind right now, and everything gets mired down and just. I don't like the way you think because you are on this party line, even though it may be better for the entire nation, possibly the world.
Yeah.
They just won't push things through just because it's not on their side or not their idea.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we need to trick them into thinking that they thought of that idea.
Yeah.
Like the old classic joke of like somebody goes, hey, why don't we put the marble in this hole? And somebody goes, nah, it's stupid. Tell you what, though, if we put the marble in that hole, it'll work. And it's just the same thing, but because the other person said they thought of it, makes it better. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, I also think like with certain things get kind of labeled, and so like anytime you hear anything that has the word social in it, and you're a conservative, that's automatically bad.
Yeah.
When you hear that. And then on the other side, it's like anything that's promotion of capitalism or is in line with capitalism, that's automatically bad. Which part of a society, there's certain social programs and things that do make sense that we do need. And there's a lot of aspects of capitalism that are good. Incentivizing people to work hard, that's a good thing.
It does make you think that. The PR guys on both sides are brilliant for just finding buzzwords to hurt things. Like I think more conservatives would be into the healthcare system that we have right now with the Obamacare if it wasn't called Obamacare.
It's very possible, yeah.
Yeah, just something like that.
And it didn't, like, I think the big thing is, like, because I heard all this stuff about Obamacare being bad, but I didn't really understand what the negative impacts were until I tried signing up for it, and it was like, oh, you have to only sign up through a certain thing or
at a certain time too. That's what got me. I was like, I'm going to be penalized because I'm late. Well, now that I put it that way, it does sound right. It's like I'm going to be penalized because I'm lazy.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And the penalty for not having insurance, that to me is ridiculous. That's
lame.
Costs money to be an American.
Exactly. And it's the quote, like a hip hop song that I like. It's a crime to be broke in America. Sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I was one of the people, and very dumbly, and I paid a heavy price for this. I refused to get car insurance for a long time. I was like, if I don't have to do it, I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah.
And the state of Tennessee does not revoke your license or not let you like renew your tags if you don't have insurance. So that being said, I drove from the time I was 16 to 30 till I was 30. Before, and if I got pulled over for like a speeding ticket, only thing I had to do, this is so nice. Can I just say?
Oh, the cat in your lap.
The cat in my lap.
Yeah.
Cat in my lap. We're talking about politics.
Yeah.
But it was, I finally got pulled over for the last time. And from the time previous, apparently I forgot to pay one of the many fines you get if you don't have insurance. And they're all like nickel and dime fines. Like you owe $20 to this department. You owe $10 to this department. So I forgot to pay one of those. So I was driving around on a revoked license that I didn't even realize I had.
Oh, man.
So I got pulled over for speeding, no insurance, and revoked license all in one fell swoop. And by the time I got done paying for that, which was a gargantuan amount of money, I just should have paid my car insurance.
Yeah.
I just should have paid like, $50 a month, or just get that cut rate car insurance for like $25 a month and just do that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I still think it's ridiculous that I get fined for it that way. God, there was a point, and then the cat laid down in my lap.
Oh.
Who knows? I don't like to pay for it, though.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
I'll just put it that way. I just don't like paying for it.
Yeah, it'd be nice if there was a way, like, understand how people not being insured cost the system money.
Yeah.
But, if you're holding a gun to people's heads and making them do it, it's sort of, I don't know if that's worth it. There's got to be some kind of way.
It feels like a bit of a shakedown.
Yeah, I mean, and another thing, too, is, like, I know, and at least I know in the county that I grew up in, if you didn't have insurance, they would take your license. And I found this out because I was just like, I was about to go out of town, and I got pulled over and didn't have my proof. I did have insurance, but I didn't have my proof of insurance on me,
Yeah.
And they cited me for it or whatever, and it was like I had to go to court to like I had to like go to court and prove that I had it and all this kind of stuff, and I was talking to them and they're like, all right, here's when you have to appear. I was like, well, I got to be out of town, and then they were like, and I was like, I'll just pay it. I just want to pay the fine. They're like, oh, no, I mean, you don't want to do that because then we'll take your license for a year. I was like, you gotta be kidding me, And I started thinking about it, and I was like, that really shows you the slippery slope of our system and how easily you can become a criminal.
Yeah.
Because let's say, you're having a hard time. You got a family to support, lose a job or something like that. Or a spouse loses a job, and you get behind on bills or whatever, and you got to eat. You got to put food on the table for your kids, and, you don't pay your insurance. Let's say you get pulled over for a taillight being out or something. Again, like something you can't afford, I guess. And then your license gets revoked.
Yeah.
Okay. You still got to drive. You got to go to work. You can't just not go to work. Maybe you live in like a rural county, which is where I grew up. There's no bus. You can't take a bus.
No train. None of that.
Yeah, you can't afford a cab, especially. So you have to drive. You have no choice. Pulled over again. Enough times it becomes criminal. Next thing you know, you're in jail. You got criminal charges on your record, and you can't get a job. You lose your job because you're in jail. And the next thing you know, unless you're going to sell drugs or something, you're going to be homeless.
Yeah.
And it just can happen from such a simple, honest little mistake.
Yeah.
There's got to be a way to avoid that trap, to close that trap, without putting an incredibly unfair burden on people who are doing things the right way necessarily. You know what I mean? Because I feel like that's the argument is like, conservatives are like, well, I was successful, so they obviously could have been too, and that's just on them if they aren't, And then the left, it's the other way around. It's like, look at these people. Look what they've got. They owe it to these other people who are not successful, and it's neither one of those is right.
Yeah, I do feel that you do need to kind of pay your dues back to society, in a matter of speaking. Like know, if this is the society that like brought you up, so I don't see anything wrong with taxation to a certain extent. I don't think it's total theft, but there's certain ones like I get that there's a higher tax on, let's say, cigarettes and beer, even though in my life those have been two of my favorite things that I've bought.
Yeah.
So I wish there wasn't such a tax on those.
I feel like the alcohol one we kind of let slide because it was illegal for a while. So
Yeah.
we're kind of like, well, at least they still let us do it.
Exactly. So we just kind of look over it.
Yeah.
You know, I think sometimes that there shouldn't be such a heavy tax on groceries and things either.
Yeah, that's
You know,
true.
state of Tennessee, especially for people that don't know, we don't have a state tax, but we do have a a product tax, I guess you would call it.
Yeah,
Like a tax on, like, if the money you make, you'll have to pay out your federal and all that stuff tax.
right.
But the state doesn't take your tax. But if you want to use any of that money to buy something, it's
Right.
taxed.
Sales tax, yeah.
Taxed pretty heavily. I think it's 7-8%.
It's like almost 10, I
It's
think.
9.2.
Oh, it's
or
9.2.
something.
Jeez.
Yeah.
it's pretty
Here I
high.
was living in a
But we
fantasy
don't have
world.
an income tax. So.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
I mean, they still kind of get it anyway. But you can be like a crazy person that wants to, like, you know, dig a hole back into like the woods or whatever.
Yeah.
Just make yourself presentable enough to go to work every day,
Yeah,
collect that check, and just sit on your money forever.
right.
You know, and the state will not take anything away from you. You're out there eating grub worms or whatever, which
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense that you could get a job that way. And I
Yeah.
think of it, but you know,
It is it's somewhat more fair, I guess.
it's a little bit, but at the same time, I think if they take away, you know, maybe a tax on like the bare necessities type stuff.
Yeah,
You know, I get that they'll overtax, like, you know, like entertainment, or I've heard people call the beer and cigarettes tax a sin tax,
yeah.
stuff like that. I think
Make
that,
it more of like a sliding scale towards the things that aren't necessities, kind of.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like most grocery items. I mean, put a little bit of a tax on T-bone steaks, you know, so everybody won't come in there and go, no tax. Like, I can get a $2 T-bone steak.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I'm totally going to get that.
Yeah.
But, you know, just do something like that, kind of level the playing field for the people that, I mean, I've heard people get mad at, like, you know, if you don't get the new iPhone, or you don't pay for your data on your phone plan, then you can afford healthcare better, which is
Yeah.
kind of true. But at the same time, you're just asking somebody in their life to just work all the time, never have any fun,
Yeah.
just so they can possibly afford being sick.
Right,
And I
yeah.
don't think that's the America, or that's the world in general, that most
Yeah.
people should have to live in, you know?
Yeah.
So don't tax necessities, and tax a little bit more on, you know, entertainment, stuff like that. I mean, it's already $500 to go see a movie nowadays anyway.
Right.
So, I mean,
Yeah, something like that definitely makes sense. And then also cleaning up like the welfare system, like with food stamps. Definitely, there could be some cleaning up done with that.
absolutely,
I mean,
that's
people
totally abused.
going and buying, you know, like T-bone steaks and
Yeah.
all this kind of stuff. I mean, you don't want to. That's part of the problem. Like, we're afraid of, like, you know, oh, we don't want to like shame them because they're whatever, they're poor,
Yeah, because
they
they're
have
down
to-
and out, yeah.
Yeah, which I agree. You know, like, it's maybe it is or maybe it isn't their fault. You know, it's not our society's job to judge. But, you know, if you have made the choices in your life that led to you needing government assistance, other than like kids or something,
Yeah.
you know, you shouldn't necessarily expect the best of the best. You know, especially
Yeah,
when it
sure.
comes to, you know, like food and, you know, stuff like that. You know,
Yeah. Maybe they could even limit it. I think we're fixing all these problems.
I
right
think
now.
so. Yeah. Almost.
Courtney, are you taking down all the dictation of this so we can
I'm
mail this
Yeah.
to our senators?
doodling. No, I'm just kidding.
I think that's about what it. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's about right. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, it would be very hard to implement a system to where you can
It
only
would.
be allowed so many steaks
Yeah.
a month with your food stamps or whatever. But I mean, I think in the long run it'd be worth it because I
There's
mean,
certain like foods, you know, or like I've always thought that maybe a way to do it is like anything that is government assisted is like a separate government entity.
yeah,
The government could like contract out private companies, you know, to like handle it or something. But it's like, you know, if you are on government assistance, you get your food from like maybe a special grocery store or a special place in the grocery
Yeah.
store or something like that.
then
I
that
don't know.
comes back to that whole shaming.
It does,
part.
yeah. That's a problem. Yeah.
Yeah, I grew up with food stamps.
Yeah.
The food stamps that I grew up with, though, are not on like I think it's called an EBT card now. It looks just
Yeah,
like a
little American flag card.
it looks like a little credit card. What I grew up with was actual big, different colored money. It was ridiculous, by the
Yeah.
way. That did feel shameful.
Yeah.
The worst one I ever had is I think I was around 14, 15, whatever you are as a freshman in high school.
Yeah.
And there was a girl that I knew, pretty good looking girl, and she worked at the grocery store we went to.
Yeah.
And I'd hardly ever see her in the lane, like wave front, like, across as we're spending our food stamps over in another lane.
Yeah.
And then one day I saw her in there, and I remember my grandmother was like, here's X amount of this giant Monopoly money that just says you're poor whenever you walk in. And just go, I'm living off the government here. Just want everybody to know.
Yeah.
And she was working at the only open aisle where I was just like, God, this sucks so much. At least now you can just pull out that card and swap it.
Yeah.
It's not as bad, so it's not as shameful as it possibly could be.
Yeah.
But anytime you're just buying like milk and bread, it was just something in my mind, we totally didn't eat at that grocery store that day. I was like, I don't care what it is. Please don't tell this girl that I'm this poor of a hillbilly.
Yeah.
And then she was like, yeah, you are. She never shamed me or anything like that. I'm sure she was used to it, but it was definitely one of the most embarrassing moments of my life. But of course, if you're a 14, 15-year-old boy, just being out in public was embarrassing.
Yeah, that's true.
Just anything I did embarrassed me.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, you want to avoid, but while not letting people just run amok with it too.
Yeah, and I have no idea how to do that.
Yeah,
it's so hard because like working in a low-income school, like it's the kids that need the assistance the most that you physically have to give them food to make sure they get it.
Yep.
Like giving their parents food stamps does not ensure that they get food. If you want them to have food, you give them food to take home on the weekend. You make sure they ate their breakfast that morning because and it's and so many people use those programs correctly, but then the people that need the most help, it almost feels like sometimes are the ones that are most likely to abuse it. So it's like, how do you fix that problem? Like without shaming people who do use it the way you're supposed to. So it's like, that's the $1 million question. I guess.
Turn food stamps back into these big multicolored things is exactly how you do that.
Yeah, I don't like, the people talked about the drug testing thing. You got to get drug tested, That one I just don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they are illegal. Yeah. And you are taking stuff from the government, but that still seems, it's like, do we want to treat people like cattle just because they're taking government assistance? I don't know.
Well, and do you want their kids to suffer because they do drugs?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's
exactly.
Yeah.
Because this person likes to do a little heroin every once in a while. I guess you don't do that
casually.
Casually,
socially.
It's social heroin. Heroin makes me real chatty.
Yeah.
Then you want to take food from the kid's mouth that has nothing to do with that. So they'll probably grow up to be a bigger piece of heroin user.
Yeah, exactly. And you don't want to make people like hate the government, for that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Because something happens. That's the reason why I'm kind of more towards the socialist thing, is because I got a lot of opportunities as a kid.
Yeah.
Is because of government assistance. And I even got to go to school for a little while until I realized I'm not good at school, and I was like, I better just stop this and let somebody else do it because I don't like this at all.
Yeah, I didn't like school too much either.
Yeah, was it fun? Do you got a degree?
No, do not have a degree.
Yeah.
No. I tried college 2 different times, and basically the same thing happened both times. I went through 1 semester of really solid, good grades for me. Not great grades, but relatively for me, they're good. And then after that, it was just like that was like all I could do. I was like I could hold it together for like 1 semester, and then that next semester it was just a train wreck.
Yep.
Both times.
I went to a nursing school, and I made really good grades for a little while, and then I had a girlfriend at home that she was going off the rails about everything, which caused me to go off the rails about everything.
Yeah.
And I just went, this is the perfect excuse to drop out of this school because I do not like sitting in a classroom. I like learning.
Yeah.
It's something about going there early in the morning, sitting down, having somebody go, hello, everybody, this is what we're going to learn, blah, 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 blah. And it knocks me out, man.
Yeah.
You can put me almost in any air-conditioned, dimly lit room for longer than 20, 30 minutes, and you just start hearing me snore.
That's why I got these lights right here.
Thank you. Thank you very much. This whole podcast, I would be just like this cat on my lap. I would just be out.
Yeah. I could direct them more at you,
just blinding me the entire time.
Yeah. Like an interrogation. What if that was a podcast? It was called The Interrogation. And it's like,
you'd have to get somebody totally unsuspecting. So tell me about your parents.
Yeah. Oh, man. That's funny. It's interesting all the different types of podcasts. Well, it's cool. Like you and Rob do one
Yep.
of it's all about Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
Or basically. Right?
Well, the first 12 episodes were.
Are you branching out now?
Yeah, we branched out. First 12 episodes, we just went through every episode of Friday the 13th, or episode. It's every part of Friday the 13th, and analyzed those to the point where it was basically the whole podcast now is kind of us lightly going over movies we remember as teenagers, and how much we liked them. Of course, revisiting them and seeing how they've changed and we have possibly changed. Not totally. I guarantee we have not possibly.
That is fun to like a movie you loved when you were a kid and you go back and watch it, or a show or whatever.
Oh yeah. So it's basically like we treat these movies kind of like a friend that only you can make fun of.
Yeah.
Because I get real mad if somebody's like, that movie sucked. I was like, that movie did not suck. And then you listen to the podcast, I'm like, this movie sucks.
I know what you mean.
Now we've branched out enough to where, like, right in the middle of something, it'd be like, oh, this reminds me of a date I went on. Kind of like what we're doing right now, where it's just stream of consciousness going out. And I think we did one, the last one we did, I'm not sure whenever this will come out or whenever the last podcast that me and Rob did. Letters from Camp Blood is the name of it.
There's iTunes.
It's on iTunes, Blood Camper at Twitter. We picked possibly the most
Blood Camper definitely sounds like it could be a few different things.
A lot of different things. It's one of those things where we picked the name for hardcore Friday the 13th fans, but we also realized that we have a podcast that kind of can branch out a little bit because it's not totally movie-centric. Sometimes it's just me and Rob talking, and we picked the wrong name for that because it is hard. It's hard for people that aren't into the series to remember it, and on top of that, we picked it's not easy to abbreviate because we're talking about doing like merch and buttons, and I mean that's what letter LFCB. Well, maybe that.
Yeah, of course. If you're still early in the game, you can always start another one.
Yeah, that's we've talked about that, but we're pretty lazy.
Yeah,
we've already got that one rolling. We're like, if we pump the brakes, we might not ever start again.
Yeah,
or we might just watch movies together and just be like, should we record this? Nah, nobody's gonna listen to that.
Yeah, we got to do a podcast sometime and just watch a movie right before it, and then try to. We can do the same thing, like if something takes us off on another topic, but we can always like try to like keep coming back to it. You know?
Oh yeah,
It'd be fun.
I'm amazed we didn't do that the entire time with Harley Davidson and the Marlboro Man.
I know, we sort of did for a while.
Yeah, we did. We went off that, and then it just flows out somewhere else.
Yeah.
The last podcast that I was saying that me and Rob recorded was with Mary J. Berger.
Yeah.
One of my favorite comics in Nashville, and had nothing to do with the movie.
Available now.
Yeah, available. In case you haven't heard, single.
Yeah.
Follow her at Mary J. Berger on anything. She'll tell you to.
Yep.
But she, it just got real dirty real quick.
Yeah.
It's basically, we watched a movie called Night of the Lepus, which is about these giant bunny rabbits that take over a town, which is hilarious because every actor in it at one point was a bigger actor before 1971. Had Janet Leigh. She was the lady from Psycho that gets killed.
Okay.
The shower scene. It had a guy named Rory Calhoun that was known for a lot of movies. Matthew
McConaughey.
Yeah, Matthew McConaughey's in it. That would be funny. He is just like an Interstellar. He never ages. I had a couple other big names, but the whole basis of the movie is rabbits are overrunning Midwestern towns and eating all the crops. So they even have like a fake news story that's like, it's detrimental towards human society that these rabbits be taken care of, So they experiment on them and try to give them a hormone that'll make them stop breeding, and instead it turns them into 150-pound buddies. It's hard to say. It's hard to say that as a human being.
Man, it's funny.
And basically the whole movie is the bunny rabbits just being bunny rabbits.
Yeah.
Like they attack like a barn and they eat all the produce. I mean, they attack people too.
Yeah.
But they basically just do bunny rabbit stuff. So it's hard for us to talk about it. So Mary J said, hey, let's talk about this like dirty stuff instead. And we went, okay, we can put an hour and a half of that out.
That's funny. I can see her doing that.
Yeah, we got to get you on one too, John.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Is there any scary movie that you would quantify, like that you haven't watched since you were as a kid that you would like to revisit?
I know one. Have you ever seen Day of the Triffids?
No, I never. Is that the frog one?
No, it's it might be hard to find, but
Okay.
it's out there. It's basically the premise of the movie. There is a meteor shower, right? It takes place in I guess around the time it came out, like the 40s or something, the late 40s, early 50s. And there's a meteor shower, and then it's like a big deal. Everyone's gonna look at it. It's supposed to be like amazing, you know. And but there's this guy that has having surgery done, like on his eyes or something, and he doesn't get to see it. So it's like, you know, he's like whatever upset about it.
Pretty bummed out. I'd say.
Yeah, exactly. So everybody like sees the meteor shower, but it makes everyone blind,
Oh.
right? But the guy who had his face all wrapped up, he could see, you know.
Oh, it's a very Twilight Zone-ish. I like this.
Yeah, and then there was this girl who was like, you know, she like was a stowaway in like a trunk or something, so she didn't see it, you know, whatever. So there's like a group of people that
Yeah.
can see, you know, and
A group of people that knew how to keep women in trunks.
exactly,
Just,
yeah,
I'm doing this for your own good.
yeah,
You'll see.
exactly.
I mean, you're literally.
All right, yeah, and so then what happens is like these aliens that are like plants. These giant plants attack everyone,
That sounds awesome.
and they have to figure out how to defeat them. Yeah.
Did you genuinely like this movie growing up?
Yeah,
Yeah, see, that's the best part.
You know, I mean, I knew it was kind of silly, but yeah, I
Oh,
liked
well.
it. Yeah,
It was still kind of silly to me that a guy would put on a hockey mask and just mess
Yeah.
with people trying to bang at a camp.
yeah, that's
I
true.
was like, that's kind of silly. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, everybody's like, well, we'll show you silly. We'll up the gore. And I'm like, oh, boy. Oh.
Yeah, that would be fun to do if we could find a copy of it. It might be
Yeah.
on Amazon.
Or we could just pick one out. That's what we did
Yeah.
with a couple of people. We watched one with Ben Sawyer. He has his podcast, The Road to Now, that's
Yeah.
got pretty big on iTunes and stuff. We watched Pumpkinhead with him, which that's a fun movie.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Oh, that's a good one. Trying to think of a couple
It
other ones.
is one I saw when I was a kid and haven't seen
It-
in a long time.
Well, considering they're getting ready to redo that one, the only thing that sucks about it, and especially trying to do it with a podcast, is that it was a mini series. So it was like
so long.
I think like 4 episodes.
Yeah,
It was a lot of fun, but it would be so hard to do.
yeah,
Because I didn't realize how many. Okay, look, Cat's Eye, for instance, where it's basically 2 or 3 movies in one. Just like
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom. Because we thought about doing that, and we're like, how are we going to talk about 3 movies in one? We'll definitely
Yeah.
start talking about something else that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Super quick.
yeah, yeah. And I'm trying to think of some other ones. One of my favorite zombie movies is Dead Alive
Dead Alive, yeah,
Yeah.
Peter Jackson.
because it's so weird, and
Yeah.
the fact that Peter Jackson directed it is interesting. you
Yeah,
know?
considering his trajectory after
Yeah,
that, where
yeah.
he went after that.
Yeah, and it was just so awesome. There was a zombie baby in it.
Mm-hmm.
He had the lawnmower scene. Teddy just like looked
I
up
like-
like
that's
a
what I was
zombie
gonna say.
baby.
I know the cat's like a zombie baby. I'm into it.
That lawnmower scene is so great though.
It's been a long time. See, okay, we also, just to make me sound more like a poor hillbilly, we stole cable growing up. So I just got to watch all this stuff that like the other kids that their parents had money.
Yeah.
They're just like, I'm not going to spend $50 a month on cable, you know. We had it illegally, so we had all this stuff. So I would just sit down and watch movies for hours. I've wasted so much of my life in front of a TV screen, which I'm sure a lot of people have, that it got to the point where I know I've watched movies because they were on,
Yeah.
but I couldn't tell you what happened in them.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like whenever you lose yourself, like literally lose yourself in a book, where you're like, I know I started out on page 50 and now I'm at page 75, but I can't remember what I read
Right, yeah,
in
yeah.
between. I would do that with movies sometime.
Huh.
I did that recently, well, sort of recently, with a movie called Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I think it's
I've heard
Clive
of that.
Owens in it.
Yeah, I've heard of
That's
that.
apparently a real fun movie, but I could tell you whenever I put it in the DVD player.
Yeah.
That's about it. Then it stopped, and I was like, I should watch that again, but I think I've already spent 2 hours daydreaming. So
Yeah. I do that with jokes sometimes. I'll hear a joke that really makes me laugh, like open mic or I'm watching a stand-up special or something. And then I go to try to like tell someone about it or whatever, and it's like, wow, what was that joke? It's like, oh, there was some bit that made me laugh so hard. And
this
I
guy
can't
walked
remember it.
into a bar with these 2 other dudes.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh man, people listening won't know what we're talking about. But there's a guy at the open mic Wednesday night that had that joke about the knobs on his stereo.
Oh, I didn't get to see. I stepped outside to smoke.
Oh, okay.
And I guess I missed that one because there was at points like big laughter.
Yeah. I guess I can say it. I don't think anything bad's gonna happen. What do you think? Should I say it or no?
I'll say no.
Okay. Oh,
Just-
I know
just-
also.
Yeah.
I was getting nervous back here. I want to be like, don't say it.
Well, just in case this guy ever like grows up, like comes up a little bit more, and he's like, "Here's my big joke," and everybody goes, "We've heard it."
yeah. Yeah, that's true. It could happen, but
Yeah.
not
Like if you ever want to
Likely.
do that with one of my jokes, that's fine.
okay.
If I knew this guy better, I would absolutely say yes.
Yeah, that's the thing. I don't really know him at all.
Yeah.
I think he's a touring guy though. I think
Oh,
he
okay.
seemed he was very polished and everything, but I don't know. I'll,
Was it Zach?
I'll tell you that J-Dub, I think, or no, there's something like that.
Oh, J-Dub, very animated dude.
Yeah, it had
Yeah.
like a white suit, a hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll tell it to you after we got there.
Okay,
Which we'll
yeah.
have to do soon. Anyway.
I was in there a little bit for his. I remember him more talking about peeing at a urinal
Yeah.
and somebody trying to bum money off of him while
Yeah.
he's peeing at a urinal because he
Yeah.
kept sucking in his butt cheeks. Now that does not ruin that joke.
Yeah.
If you ever seen a man simulate I'm peeing at a urinal and his butt cheeks keep sucking up in his pants,
Yeah.
there you go.
It was
well,
strange.
yeah,
But funny.
it's hilarious. I know there's a lot of people right now being like, "That's not my sense of humor whatsoever."
Yeah. No.
If you'd seen it, you would have. Yeah, you probably laughed. I'd say
Yeah.
most people would have.
It's pretty funny.
Yeah,
Not as good as like talking out of your butt, but you know.
yeah, it's right up there.
Yeah, it is.
It's like a fit. It's like down the line of the top 5, probably at a 5.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Talking out of your butt, definitely a number 1. at least from that, you reminded me of Ace Ventura. As soon as
Yep.
that's a hard one to forget.
It is. Yeah. Like we're running this podcast in the ground now.
That's what happens when you invite me on. A callback to a Ace Ventura joke. That'll slow him down. I'll take the wheels off most anything.
Yeah. I remember my mom took me to see Ace Ventura when it first came out. I'm trying to think how old I was. I was born in 1988. So whenever that
It
movie
was
came
around
out,
94-ish. No, I
Okay.
guess it was after that.
was it 5? It was
It was before I could drive a car because I was born in 80.
okay.
I mean, drive a car legally.
Yeah.
Or just physically.
Yeah. But my mom took me to see that movie because I can't remember if I already liked Jim Carrey then. I don't see how I would have because that was like his kind of big breakout movie.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Somehow I got my mom to take me to see it or something. And she was like horrified because I was like young enough because I was probably like 6 or 7. And she was like horrified. She didn't make me leave the movie, but she was like horrified that I was like
Into it that
seeing
much.
seeing that movie.
I'm
like
just seeing
like
it.
she wished she had not taken me to that movie. And I tried to get her to take me to like other Jim Carrey movies after that, and she like wouldn't. So I had to wait till I was older and like get them on video, you know, like The Mask and Ace Ventura 2.
Yeah.
But I was sold on Jim Carrey then. I loved Jim Carrey.
Oh
after
yeah,
that.
he had his moment in the spotlight. That's
Yeah.
for sure. Is it Ace Ventura? Is the first one where he gets in the fight with the football mascot? Or
Yes.
yeah, that.
Yeah.
I remember watching that and just
That was the one with Dan Marino and all that.
yeah, I just remember rolling over that. That
Oh,
was
yeah.
to me hilarious.
Like the intro, he's like kicking that package around. He's like, "What's fragile?" I probably said that to my friends a billion times.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? Yeah, that was great.
Makes me wonder if that one holds up.
I don't know. You know, I feel like in a different sort of way, it probably does.
Yeah,
because it's kind of it's corny. The thing is, like Jim Carrey, you know, the stuff that he did was corny. I mean, actually, if you watch his actual stand-up, some of it's kind of brilliant.
yeah.
I think, but like in his movies, it was all very corny. But it was like he sold it so well, and he was so like committed to it. You know what I mean?
He was
It's like
definitely that character at that time.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it was the ultimate amount of confidence. There was no shred of like
Yeah.
doubting what he was doing, you know, in his delivery of that stuff. It kind of makes it funny. Like, I remember one of the things that stuck in my mind was he was going to investigate some pool, like because the dolphin was missing. That was the plot. And he's like, if I'm not
The
back in
Miami
5
Dolphin was
yeah,
missing.
exactly. He's like, if I'm not back in 5 minutes, just wait longer or something like that. You know, just the way he did it, like moving his head around, you know, and stuff.
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
I still think his best performance, in my mind, was Me, Myself, and Irene.
Yeah, that's my favorite.
Because he got to play the straight character and the
crazy guy.
the crazy guy in one movie to himself, basically.
yeah.
And that was too much
Yeah.
fun.
Oh my God! Like when he would go into the crazy guy. Like the one time when they were on the road and they were in some restaurant and some kid threw something at him or whatever.
Started having that tick.
And that music, in his eyes. And he's just like, the stuff that he would say. I can't remember it exactly, but it's great.
I'm trying to think who the leading lady in that was. Was it?
Oh, yeah. No, it was Renee.
Was it Renee Zellweger?
Yeah, it was her, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Boy, she fell off the face of the earth.
Oh, man, quick. I wonder if she was one of those got spooked to Hollywood people.
She's in a bunch of chick flicks still.
Is she really?
Is she?
Yeah, y'all like the Bridget Jones stuff. Y'all probably just don't watch the stuff that she
I actually watched the first Bridget Jones movie just to see why everybody was going crazy, because occasionally you catch one of those chick flicks that you secretly you're like, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not just going to come out and scream it, but I can see why everybody likes this. So I figured the Bridget Jones one, the way people were talking, I was like, oh, that's going to be the one.
Yeah.
I watched it. I went, that's absolutely not the one.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen that one.
Oh,
yeah.
I've seen all 3 of them. I think
There's 3 of them?
Yeah. Yeah, she just did another one.
So
like
there's
a year or 2 ago.
The first one's The Diary.
Mm-hmm.
What's the next 2? Because I have a feeling they're going to go with campy names after that.
I don't remember. The next one's The Edge of Reason. And then the
wow.
last one is Bridget Jones's Baby.
Okay. Because it seemed like, I figured it'd be like diary, journal. Like she gets a job as a newspaper writer. Just something, Bridget Jones novel. That's what I was thinking. It's like The Edge of Reason.
Yeah.
Wow. That sounds like a completely different style of movie.
Like Tom Cruise should be in that.
Edge of Tomorrow. Everybody just keeps shooting Bridget Jones. She keeps coming back. That would be awesome.
That would be, yeah.
Call up that church, that Scientology church.
Yeah, really.
Let's get this done.
Yeah, man. Let's get that happening.
Get that good alien money.
Yeah, really. All right. Well, we've gone on long enough, I think. It's been fun, man. I appreciate you coming by.
Yeah, man. It's been a blast. Thanks for having me, dude. This is always fun.
Yeah, we got to do it more often. I don't know why it took
Yeah.
so long to have you back on.
Yeah, I got to get you on Letters from Camp Blood, dude.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you if you want to record one in my studio too sometime,
Oh, that'd be killer to do the first one so people can see that. Okay, I've been told this before. Rob Haynes, big fella, shaved head, big red beard.
Yeah.
Wears like all the punk rock and metal stuff all the time. Nice guy.
Yeah.
He's also one of the guys that me and him have had several Pantera conversations about.
Yeah.
Like, why'd you have to do that, Phil?
Yeah.
If you feel that way, just keep it to yourself so I can enjoy the music in public.
Yeah.
So he's that type of dude. And so when people see pictures of me and Rob, like, it's like, this is the guys that say it. I've had more than one person go, oh, I expected your voice to come out of Rob. So I want to do a video one just so people will be either freaked out or just be like, I never would have thought that.
Yeah, we can do it.
Yeah, that would be great. I would love to clear the air that I'm not Rob and Rob's not me.
There you go. Yeah, that'd be fun. We'll have to do that. All right, well, thanks for coming on.
Oh, thanks for having me.
We couldn't live stream. So people got to listen to this boring old pre-recorded stuff.
Yeah, I hate that the cat didn't jump in my lap live streamed.
Oh, yeah.
That would be so much fun.
Yeah, it would. That was funny. He, headbutted the microphone.
He jumped behind the sandbags.
Yeah.
He did everything. He's living the life as that cat.
Yeah, he is. Yep. Maybe he needs to start his own podcast.
Yeah, or he just keeps on being a special guest on anybody else's podcast by being like, I'm sleeping on your lap right now, and there's nothing you can do about it.
How weird would that be if, you watched a bunch of podcasts that you didn't really feel like were connected at all, and there were videos, and there was the same cat in all of them? How weird would that be?
That would be the great Slender Man type of internet stuff that just, I would love to go down that conspiracy theory. Be like, do you think all podcasts are related? Yeah, and everybody's like, oh my god.
Yeah, that'd be great. Okay, thanks everybody. Goodbye.
I'm hitting the button.
Okay, hit the button.
Cutting you guys off.